The following is brought to you by the People's National Party.
Make the trumpets play. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. To get champion, we can do it together. When we look to the future of precipice, we see Jamaica needs the vision of the PSP. People said the bag of promises, them can't carry go shop. And the crime rate getting higher, wonder when it does now come Rex. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. To get champion.
The proceeding was brought to you by the People's National Party. The following is brought to you by the People's National Party.
Make the trumpets play. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. To get champion, we can do it together. When we look to the future of precipice, we see Jamaica needs the vision of the PSP. People said the bag of promises, them can't carry go shop. And the crime rate getting higher, wonder when it does now come Rex. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. To get champion.
The proceeding was brought to you by the People's National Party.
So why you come to me with that foolishness, you know? You elect a prime minister, and is a prime minister run the country. It is time we learn to hold our leaders accountable for their actions and stop making excuses for them. Stop making excuses. Otherwise, go elect the people who really run in the country. And I don't want the right side of the argument. Hold the people you elect accountable. And stop making excuses for them.
Hello, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to those in television land. Happy Tuesday to our silent supporters. Happy Tuesday to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope everyone is having a wonderful and productive week so far. Tonight's topic is lies, and more lies with your host Byron and Marie. Remember, guys, please, when you come in, just thumbs up the live, share us out if you can. And if you're new to the channel, please show us some support by subscribing. That will be greatly appreciated. Please remember to go over and support Daisy Magazine at maxter.com/p/Daisy. And tonight we'll be having Mr. Rattigan on, and also Daisy Magazine will be joining us in studio as well. But let me just go ahead and welcome everyone in the chat. I don't know, so you can introduce. All right, so Dorothy McCoy, Youngans, Paulette Robinson, Carla Ebanks, Patel Cruikshank, Nyla Queen, Merlin Mollieson, Dan Mel, Rosa, Jeanette Letts, Laris Beckford, Sonia Foster, Shirley Bogle, Beverly, Florence Brown, Noreen Dennison, Unique Ray, Rosemary Ford Few, G. Angel, and Merville Mackey. Welcome. Thank you guys so much. Without any delay, you're welcome, Don Mel. I'm going to hand over to Byron.
Okay, wonderful.
Oh, sorry, and happy International Men's Day to all the men in the chat and out there in television land. Garfield Gordon, welcome. Sorry, Byron.
All right. Thank you for that, Tony. As always. All right. Of course, Ratty is already here with us. Ratty is in the background. and Sister Maria will be joining us later. Tonight as well, we are going to be having, right, one of our expert guests in the house tonight. Let me just say that Mr. Neil Curtis, Executive Director for Farm Up Jamaica, will be in studio with us tonight. And of course, we are going to have a wonderful discussion as it relates to information that need to be provided, particularly for farmers in Jamaica. And one of the reasons why we are bringing Mr. Curtis in studio, right, is the government, seems to be focusing on the bauxite lands, right, to utilize bauxite lands as farming land. So we reach out to the expert because one, we want to know, right, if that is feasible, if that can be done based on the possible level of toxicity that those lands will bear and the compromisation of those areas known in as it relates to bauxite mining. So we have the expert that will be coming in tonight to guide us in certain discussions and give us certain awareness where that is concerned. Now, without any delay, I'm going to continue the program tonight in getting into some very, very serious topics. And one of the topics that we'll be getting into tonight is, extrajudiciary killing, right, that was witnessed, right, via CCTV. And we are going to break that down. It's very sad as it relates to, some of our police officers who are decided to become judge, juror, and execution. What we had witnessed, right, is really despicable. So, we're glad that, of course, Ratty is in studio, and we are going to dissect certain situation where that is concerned. Now, it can't be that members of the police force who are supposed to protect and serve, that we have several of these officers who believe that, they should act out of the tandem of the law. So we are going to get into that before. Okay, all right. Here we have, all right.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, good night.
Afternoon, morning.
All right. Before I bring in Mr. Neil Curtis, who is the executive director for Farm Up, right? Please, I'm going to move to Rattis, give Rattigan the opportunity to greet and meet his people as always. Brother Rattigan.
Yes, sir. Good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and you're listening to Mystic Sensation with Anne-Marie and Byron, the dynamic duo. So I sit down and I listen, but I listen to some music, and I think I prepare because I come long time, I watch Anne-Marie. Yeah, come watch when Farm Up, man. I talk to Anne-Marie, and Anne-Marie says she get everything set up and thing. I think I test out the thing, but I listen to some music and just a vibe out, and then realize the program start. So
All right.
I am. Well, every week me come late. Me come early this week. I'm still come late.
All
But
right.
no, everyone in the chat, everyone listening, watching, big up on yourself. You're at the right place at the right moment. It's always a learning experience. And believe me, I know I'm going to learn some things tonight because every time I come on the show, I learn. I learn from Mystic and I learn from you in the chat and the guests them. So farm up, you can't fail me now. All right, sir.
Normally, we only give you the information that you ask, right?
All right.
So we can't feel you. That's impossible.
All right, good. Well, I'll be all ears. I'll be all ears. So bless up everyone. I'm here for the full duration. Midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning. However long Mystic go, I am here. So
Yes.
that's simple.
Yes.
Thanks again
Well,
for having me.
I won't be. I'm not granted that much time to be here with you guys.
All right. Without any further ado, let me say to the panel, speak to our Jamaicans locally and in the diaspora, right? That of course in studio tonight, of course we have one of our brilliant minds, right, as it relates to agricultural science, and of course Mr. Neil Curtis, Executive Director for Farm Up Jamaica. The reason why Mr. Curtis had been invited was to deal with some level of awareness, right, as it relates to the government focus. And let me just break it down, just give a background. So the government focus is now to utilize bauxite land, right, for farming purposes, right? And we are concerned about that, right? Concerned in the sense, for one, is it possible that this can be done? And what level of toxicity, what level of exposure that utilizing that area as it relates to bauxite land for farming process. And we have, as we said, the best expert here. But I want to, before you begin, Mr. Curtis, I am going to guide you with, and I know, of course, that Rattigan will be having questions of his own that he wants to ask. Maria will be coming later. I know that Maria will be asking some questions as well. But I want to guide the questions tonight based on 3 questions that I have before you start right with the level of awareness for us. Now, I have done some research myself, Mr. Curtis, relating to bauxite land, right? And yes, there are countries, right, that utilize bauxite land, right, for farming and certain crops. So the 3 questions that I want to guide on based on the research, right? Now, I want to ask you, what research needs to be done to ensure that these bauxite lands are, one, fertile, and what types of crops would be best suited to utilize these areas? The second question with that is, what are the risks involved in farming on bauxite land? And of course, third, how costly farming on bauxite land as opposed to farm on lands that have not been compromised by bauxite mining, right? So those 3 areas, we want you to guide us in that pathway. Sir, without any delay, the floor is yours.
All right, just let's go one by one. Number one,
yeah.
Let's talk about the first question, which was, just repeat, please.
Yes, what research needs to be done to ensure that these bauxite lands are, one, fertile, and what types of crop would be suited to utilize these land areas?
Okay, so normally, I've worked in the Bauxite region. We have done some pilot plotting in those areas to see how we could actually revitalize bauxite mined land, and if it was something that was viable. I would definitely say when we did soil testing in those regions, you just had soil that was very depleted, and some that would carry even some level of chemicals that have now leached into the soil, into that bauxite soil that has been left there. Now, we literally had to do what we call trial and error testing to figure out how we would clean that soil and how we would make that soil usable to grow crops. I'm not certain what technique the government is using to do that, but I can only tell you what we had done. You understand? The understanding of soil means that you understand that whatever you're going to put in that soil is going to require certain elements, certain nutrients, microorganisms, micronutrients to grow that crop successfully. A lot of those things are missing in the bauxite lands. Now, if the government is embarking on a mission to replace those elements, those micronutrients, those that nutrition that the plant life is going to need, then yes, it's a viable thing that can give way to some areas that have some good flat lands in many cases. That you know, as you know, the flat lands are what the World Bank considers to be what they call arable lands. So even though we might have fertile hills and valleys, when the World Bank looks at arable land, they consider the flat land to be what they call arable land. And so, again, it might give the opportunity to have more land space to grow crops. Now, personally, we would recommend on a farm up Jamaica level, a reconstruction of soil, right? That means taking into the account a reconstruction that would not only allow you to grow, but would also clean that soil in the process, or even clean the soil first, rebuild the micronutrients, rebuild the microbiology, and then now start to plant in that soil, which could take in our example would probably take about 4 to 6 months. Now, again, I'm not certain. We're talking blind because we don't really know what that government has in place to combat, if you want to call it that, the challenge that is already existing, which is a soil that's most likely depleted in its nutrients and its microbiology and what have you. I mean, we couldn't even find an earthworm in the back. And so I will say, and again, each region is different. So maybe the land that we looked at didn't have those things. I don't know if the lands that they are looking at will or will not have those things. But you know, earthworm is a sign of life in the soil. It's a sign. When you say earthworms in soil, that is what you want to see when you are growing food, right? Because earthworms bring aeration to the soil, and they also they process the soil. They eat soil all day, and then the poop of the worm now becomes fertilizer back into the soil, and it brings back microbiology and microbes and what have you back into the soil.
Okay, all right. Let me just drag you a bit on the information that you have just provided, right? And we are going to utilize some, probability card, right? In the sense that, right, because as you said, that you don't have any awareness that the government may have done the requisite research, right, as it relates to, go through the process to find out the level of toxicity and so forth. Now, let us use this probable cause. Say for argument's sake that the government did not do this research, right, and just go at it in terms of wanting to utilize these lands. What would be the risk factor in that sense? What are the risk factors in that sense?
Well, all right. So to be honest with you, I'm not completely aware of what the risks could be. Now, I do know that people that live in the bauxite regions suffer from different types of illnesses than people that don't live in the bauxite regions, right? Now, can those things are, maybe there's no study to say that those things are attributed to bauxite, but I know for a fact because my sister had from the apparently inhalation of whatever things were in the air and the water that she was drinking by living beside a bauxite mining location. Now, to tell you that I know the exact chemicals that were in that soil at this point, I don't. That our study was done some, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So I couldn't tell you exactly what, but I do know that that part of mining is something that's not very healthy. If the plant like going to be up, the roots.
Do you have a machine on? Do you have a device on, Mr. Curtis?
No, not me.
Do you have a device on?
No, not me, not me.
Okay. All right. So let me ask this question, very important question that I'm going to ask.
Sure.
Because of the possible risk factors that can involve, as we know that there are so many evidence as it relates to bauxite mining and the effects that comes from bauxite mining. Would it be prudent that before the government proceed, that the government should have done, quality research and have that research, right, exposed to the public as it relates to the health and safety of this? I'm just asking because we would like that if the government is making decision to utilize bauxite land, the government decision should be based on the health and safety of the environment. And as a result of the health and safety of the environment, right, would it be prudent for the government to say, okay, all right, let us do the research and make the research becomes a public knowledge as it relates to say, okay, we are moving forward because based on the research, right, the findings would, determine that, yes, we can go ahead and the type of crops that we can, utilize in those areas.
Well, okay. I can't tell you exactly. I can tell you that a Ministry of Agriculture would probably do that type of research to make sure that whatever they're doing is viable. I don't know directly if they are doing that type of research or not, and if you guys might have more information than I do. But what I might say is that I believe that every farming project is something that people do soil testing, right? Soil tests must go to SRC or to the different locations where they do soil testing in Jamaica. I believe that once soil testing is done, they're going to make a decision that, either this is something that can work or cannot work. I'm not certain how far along this thing is. I'm not certain what type of testing has been done. In fact, again, I can only give you the information that I am exposed to, which is, again, my own test that we've done in this regard. But I'm not quite certain what they are doing in that regard. But I will tell you that it would definitely be something that a government or a scientific organization would want to check, of course. Absolutely. But I raise that question in more than one regard. I raise it also in the pesticides and the chemicals and the fertilizers that are being used in Jamaica right now. In fact, some things that are banned in other countries are being used in Jamaica right now. No, I mean, and that's been forever, right? We know that the being exposed to even those chemicals can be detrimental to the lifespans of people in Jamaica and then the overall general health. What I can't speak to exactly what they're going to do with this particular land before they go ahead and plant into it, but it would be prudent to, of course, do their research and development. Again, you may have more information on what they are doing in that regards than I would.
Okay, all right. Let me just ask you my final question, because I know that Ratty is waiting to ask you some questions as well. Right. How costly farming on bauxite land as opposed to farm on land that have not been compromised by bauxite mining? What, as it relates to, right, prudency from the government in pursuing this, right? How costly it is in terms of doing all of that, in terms of what you just mentioned, to make sure that, okay, the soil is clean and so forth and so. How costly, right, in terms of doing that, as opposed to just find some lands, right, that, is virgin from all of that effects?
Well, again, I don't know the availability of land is right now in Jamaica. I don't know what is in the inventory of the government, but I can tell you that, of course, using bauxite land is going to require more soil testing and more scientific evidence to take it to the next level. It's not a 1, 2, 3 just go and farm on the bauxite land, because there are many farmers that go and farm on bauxite and do not have good results, like their plants are not doing well, just in that regard, right? But they have gotten land. I've seen it in the past where farmers are using bauxite land to farm. Some overcome by, and again, these are people that don't really test the soil, don't know what the long-term effects may be, but they got a piece of land and it was bauxite land and they're using it to farm. Now, again, if a government is involved in that, I'm sure that they would want to take those precautionary steps to make sure that whatever types of land that they are going to be doling out are going to be lands that are either rebuildable or free of chemicals, or work on cleaning up that land, or over time even, are integrating other soils that are good into those soils to ultimately clear the contamination, if they are.
Okay, so let me say this as it relates to this process of education. So basically, right, for me to be asking those questions, we want to tell for any potential farmers in terms of, the government plan, right, that one of the things that these farmers need to definitely pursue, right, to ensure as it relates to the health and safety, where a research should be done by the government and make it public as it relates to the data, so that the farmers can have an informed decision to proceed. Brother Rattigan, you want to take it away from here?
Sir, forgive me. I'm not quite sure the farm of Jamaica, where does it fit in the scheme of things in the agricultural sector?
Yeah, that's my question to me.
Yes.
Well, we're a diaspora organization. We're formed out of the Northeastern Diaspora group and actually formed out of the 2013 Diaspora Conference.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were formed, we just were Jamaicans that live abroad that thought about Jamaica first. That was it. Our interest is to see Jamaica do well, no matter who is actually running the country. But we are interested in seeing Jamaica and the farmers of Jamaica and young people to rekindle the principles that made Jamaica very special to even the Europeans that were trying to conquer the island for many years, which was agriculture. That was the major driver. So we find that's where the strength lies.
All right. So I'm trying to figure out, where is your voice? Is your voice just a diaspora voice, just discussing agriculture issues amongst diaspora members, or do you have a voice going straight into the Ministry of Agriculture, trying to?
That's a good question. That's a good question. What we find, okay, is that when you say diaspora in Jamaica, it is a good word and it is a bad word. We believe that a lot of our voices are not necessarily heard. And so what happens is you might find that we do projects directly with farmers, not necessarily circumventing government, but we use government when necessary, right? So if let's just say we're in a certain area, we need to use a government tractor. We want to work with the facilities that do processing. We will reach out to the government or the government processing location or a government tractor or what have you. Or we may work with a government to speak about things that may be affecting a farmer in a specific area, right? Whereas they may have offered some assistance to RADA or the Ministry of Agriculture, and we will go there. We try to keep our voices neutral because we want to work continually, no matter who is in office. We have to work, and you have to understand that that's a challenge in itself, coming into Jamaica and saying that you're lightening the burden then of government because you might be taking on farmers or giving them assistance, and the government might feel like, well, that's something we could have done. But and so it's also the reason why we kind of keep things organic. We do things kind of stay in our own lane. But that's who we are. We're diaspora. I mean, we're represented by many different diaspora people. In fact, when we first launched, there were people from England, people from Canada, people from Miami that just loved this whole idea of us coming together to help Jamaica in the agricultural sector.
All right. Here's why I'm trying to figure out where you fit in the scheme of things, because a couple of things. One is the Prime Minister, accompanied by Mr. Leachin, then National Security Advisor Anthony Anderson, then Ambassador for Economic Affairs, Dr. Nigel Clark. I think there may have been one or two other people. They went to Israel in 2017. And one of the purposes was to explore the agriculture sector, to see how because Israel, they have developed a cottage industry, actually a large industry, farming industry, right? In areas where people they didn't think things could grow, right?
Mhm.
So they went to come back with all of that information. And then here's what happened. If you look at statistics for farming, farming is a dying industry, so to speak. More people are leaving the farming sector than any of the other sectors. So that's why I'm asking you, where's your voice? Because, and I don't mean it to be critical, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Because here's the thing, I see where farming is not a priority, tourism is a priority, and importation is a priority. Because as you know, Jamaica imports about almost $6 billion and exports a little over $1 billion. So the trade deficit is huge. So they're importing all of the things that we're expecting farmers to grow. So that's why I'm asking, you know, if what you're doing, if you think it's winnable, because you're actually trying to row against the tide based on everything that we've seen. If you look at the stats, and if you look at the importation, exportation, and you look at, in fact, they even lowered, they dropped GCT off of raw materials, right? So now you can bring in all of the scallion, all of the onion, all of the whatever. And what happened to the farmers?
So we are the voice of those farmers that want to farm the right way. Now, when I say the right way, we live abroad, so we are exposed to different methodology as it relates to agriculture. When you go to Jamaica and you look at agriculture, I don't even think that the governments actually understand what industrial farming is. They were left from England. They were left with this type of self-sustaining farming, where, you know, the big industry is to plant sugarcane or banana, but that same farmer has his own 10 acres at home that has nothing on it. But somehow psychologically, they have gotten into the head of the farmer that they can farm the sugarcane in millions of acres, but when you reach home, you must just have a backyard garden of less than even an acre, right? Although you have the land space. So again, we're trying to turn on the light in those farmers to say, listen, you have all of these hotels. Let's grow the foods that those hotels need. There's a built-in market within the country, right? And when you talk about food imports, Jamaica imports about $1 billion worth of food only, and exports about 250 million of food out of the country, right? Which again, that's 3 times more. It's
750 in deficit.
Yeah, 750 in deficit. Now, we believe that $1 billion is just 60% of all the imports are brought in to feed the hotels, right? 60%. Okay, so just that's so okay. Let's just say we had to round numbers. That's 600 million US dollars that could be redistributed to farmers and people that do value added products.
All right.
Here's the last question. I feel, and I'm just following up on that point. This is not something that happened just now, right? So the question is, why no? This problem has been there for quite some time, and so I'm interested as to why is it that it's only now that they're saying, okay, we want to convert lands to where we can do arable, make it arable so we can farm. Why no? I mean, you're probably the wrong person to ask the question, but because you're in the farming sector and because you have a voice and you have outreach, I'm just trying to get from you, have you asked that question? And if you did, what response did you receive?
I have not asked the question. I can make some assumptions. I know that those backside companies that are out there, they give land to farmers within their communities in many cases. I haven't seen it on a governmental level before. I normally see just the bauxite companies allowing people within their communities that they work within to use these lands. I'm not quite sure what this particular endeavor is with the government per se, but I can only tell you from experience that I know of the bauxite company actually doing this. It's not brand new. But again, it's something that could be queried. I mean, you can ask these questions. These are not questions that we have asked, simply because when we talk about growing food, we talk about organic food. We talk about, because we realize that the whole world is transitioning to cleaner and more sustainable food, right? We find that Jamaica might be even a bit antiquated because they're still using a lot of the chemicals that many other countries have actually trashed at this point. So, you know, again, all I'm saying to you is, I know that there's tons of land, and I do believe that replacing those lands that have been taken away from farmers, because I know that, you know, people are building houses on flat lands nowadays. There's tons of those projects going on, and I guess in efforts to offset that in some way, they're finding other flatlands that are probably available and telling farmers to, you know, use those lands instead of the lands that houses are being built on. That could be an idea or a reason. But outside of that, I have not queried that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right. Let me, because I want to get this opportunity to invite Sister Maria to the floor, right? But before I do, Sister Maria, I just want to ask Mr. Curtis one question as it relates to, right? The government made a move as it relates to reduce, remove GCT from green produced, right? And here it is that the government had done that. And of course, that is going to benefit those people who that policy is benefiting. So then, wouldn't that be sort of counterproductive in terms of now the government, right, focusing to say that, okay, farmers should plant on bauxite land, right? And how is it going to be profitable for those farmers might be spending, you know, I mean, particularly millions of dollars, right, as it relates to, you know, dealing with their crop and getting their crop to market and competing with those persons who have the accessibility to bring in those green produce. How tangible that is, how feasible that is, because I don't see the prudence in that.
That is a formula for disaster.
Exactly.
Because again, when you speak, our mission as Farm Up Jamaica is to help reduce the importation of foreign food into Jamaica, increase Jamaican exports, put young people and farmers back to work in sustainable agriculture, and reduce crime and poverty by creating opportunities for people that would normally be idle. So now, in that, and what you just said, it speaks to our mission. And if you are giving incentives for people to import food, then Farm Up Jamaica is definitely an organization that would speak against that. Right? We're not interested. If you are importing, if you're going to increase the amount of food that's being imported into Jamaica, that's not something that we want to see. It's not, our mission doesn't jive or go along with that, right? And so what I'm saying to you is that is counterproductive, especially trying to rebuild the people, right? There may be, what they should be doing is redirecting the agricultural products of Jamaica back into the system through those maybe same importers, right? And having them spend their money with local farmers instead of bringing that food from somewhere else. Our dream is to see the quality of produce increase to a level where the food cannot be distinguished. Meaning, when you look at foreign food, the Jamaican food is competing, meaning it has the same food quality, it's the same size, it's the same, it has even better nutrition value. Those are the things that we are looking to do in Jamaica. That's what we do when we work with young people that are interested in agriculture, our farmers that are interested in agriculture. So when you talk about increasing imports into Jamaica, we are completely against that. So, we would, again, that's something that we would want to ask, well, okay, if you're going to give that type of incentive to people that are bringing food into the country, then what type of incentive are you giving back to the farmers?
Exactly.
Right? Because then would need an incentive in order to compete. And as any government, I don't think, in other words, you're going to see your importers, you're going to see your farmers, you probably have to make both sides happy somehow. But the key is to make sure that you implement that and put that in place.
Exactly. Sister Maria, let me give you the opportunity to come into the space, because I know, of course, you want to ask Mr. Curtis some questions as well. Sister Maria, please take the floor.
Yeah, hi, good evening.
Hi, Maria.
Neil, how are you doing? I'm not new to you. I'm not new to your program, because I've covered your program in my magazine, thankfully. So I'm familiar with your work, yes. And to Ratigan, good evening, my brother. And to my sister from another mister, good to see you, Anne-Marie. And to everybody in the chat, it is really lovely seeing all of you again. And this conversation is it's so healthy right now. And they say there's no time like the present, and it is well overdue, because the farming situation in Jamaica has gotten out of control for a number of decades. And it is going to take politicians, governments, a government with some serious interest in the sector and the ability to renegotiate a lot of contracts that have allowed them to be importing more while they're exporting less, because Jamaica is full of lands that they can be utilizing to plant things for manufacturing purposes. Because people like to talk about the Singapore model. Singapore doesn't have a lot of the things that Jamaica has. They use what they have to get to where they are. Why can't the same thing happen in Jamaica? But two things I want to address. The bauxite lands. It is not a figment of anybody's imagination that bauxite mining, it destroys the forest cover, it displaces residents, it affects the air quality, and it affects agricultural livelihood. Bauxite mine, where people who live near bauxite mines have respiratory problems and other issues. This is not a figment of our imagination. So the idea that they're going to now utilize bauxite lands for farming should cause every one of us to take a pause, because they have yet to address the problems facing the children who live near those bauxite mines and the residents who live there that have for decades been complaining about health issues as a result of being in close proximity to bauxite mine. It is not a figment of our imagination. These are facts. And that has yet to be addressed. How then can you be considering to use these farmland, these bauxite lands as, for farming? That makes no sense to me. On top of that, you have a problem of fertilizers, pesticides that have been used through the decades in the farming community in Jamaica. These fertilizers and pesticides have destroyed the soil quality. As I've heard Neil talking about earlier, because I was listening to the program before I came on, about not having earthworms. So you see, everything has a purpose. Even the roaches in a home, the rodents, everything, the ants, they might be a nuisance to us, but everything serves a purpose. I remember growing up in India, what rain falling, you're walking, and you see all these earthworms coming up. Or if you live, where your families have farmlands and stuff, and you plant flowers. My parents planted a lot of flowers, had backyard garden. My grandfather the same thing, cousins the same thing, and you would see these earthworms, especially early in the morning. They served a purpose. Now, to hear that you're not even seeing earthworms should
Yeah.
be concerning. So my two questions I have for Neil. One, how can there be a concerted effort, a serious program of soil reconstruction and rehabilitation to move away from the banned substances that have been banned in other countries but dumped in developing countries like Jamaica, and the government has allowed that to happen. So that's why I said there needs to be a serious government structure in place who will say, no, 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 no. If it is banned in other countries, why are you dumping it? We don't need it because you're going to come and kill off our soil and destroy our agricultural farmlands. That is one. How can there be a reconstruction, rehabilitation of the soil to bring back some amount of it that we can see earthworms again? And the other part is seed compatibility with the soil. Because a lot of persons, I see persons on social media who have their different programs where they cook and stuff, and they talk about planting sweet pepper seeds, and it's not growing. So are these seeds compatible with the land, or are these seeds only compatible with growing in a green space and not outside where you can get, natural sunlight, natural rain, all of that? So those are the two questions I have right now.
Well, firstly, I must say that what it's going to take, right, to address your first question, it's going to take voices. And it's going to take not just a few voices that are in Jamaica. That's why I believe that the Jamaica diaspora is a huge, huge voice. And you have to understand that Jamaicans send a lot of money home. As a matter of fact, we sustain Jamaicans, right? We are the social service of Jamaica, right? And many people don't understand that $3.5 billion being sent around, around $3.5 billion. If that came with voices, that along, not only cash but voices, that could change something. But I don't think that we are speaking up, and I don't know that the organization of those people, right? Because when I speak to diasporas, I speak from a neutral ground, right? And many diasporas want to draw you into the political realm, which that's not what we as diasporas want to do. As diaspora, you want to be able to get your children involved, right? You might have children that are grown adults, 35, 40 years old, love to come back to Jamaica, don't know anything about Jamaican government or even politics, but want to help and can be a voice because there's probably some family land sitting out there somewhere that they can get involved in. But we're not leveraging these opportunities. So the voice that you're speaking about is normally coming from people that are battered and bruised already, and they're in Jamaica and crying for these things. And if the government decides that, well, they're gonna do what they want to do regardless, they're gonna do it anyway. And that could be, just based on a farmer being way down in the countryside, maybe not the most well-to-do person, versus people with funds and and more clout, right? That's the first part of your question, right? we're talking about bringing the world together under that umbrella to say, listen, we have to do something about this agricultural situation. And not only bauxite, but chemicals, but soil, but reinvigorating the microbiology of what Jamaica's ecosystem was founded upon, right? Because in order to grow sugarcane in Jamaica, even in those old days, there had to be extensive testing of soil to be sure that the ecology was sufficient to grow that wonderful sugarcane, which is what I understand was the best in the world, right? So we have to step back to step forward. We have to go back because, you know, the problem is we live in 2024 and everybody wants things so quickly. They want us to do this overnight. And I'm telling you, it's going to take, like you just said, a concerted effort of everyone coming together and deciding that we are going to change something about Jamaica. But if we continue to just say, well, me they America and everybody them they are Jamaica, so that's a for them problem. If it's a for them problem situation, then we're gonna continue to have the same old Jamaica from now until the end of time. Right?
All right.
That's number one. The second part of your question was having the correct seed for the lands that are in Jamaica. And so seeds in general are prescribed, I'm going to use, are prescribed normally for specific regions. It's like you say, an Idaho potato does its best in Idaho. So where does an Irish potato do its best? Not in Jamaica. But we eat Irish potatoes and we grow Irish potatoes, right? So you have to look at those things and you say, okay, well, maybe the yield of an Irish potato in Jamaica is much less than if you grew that Irish potato in its longitudinal and latitudinal global position, right? And so those are conversations that Farm Up Jamaica has continually. Many of the crops that you see in Jamaica and many of the local seeds that are brought into Jamaica are brought in bulk, and many farmers don't even know where they come from. Some of that lettuce and some of the things that we've explored and checked out, they come from Germany, cold regions. They're not Jamaican seeds. They're not the best seed for the prescription of Jamaica either, right? But these, again, I can stand on the mountaintops all alone and our small organization can scream. But until we have a united front of Jamaican diaspora that decide that we are going to not only send $3.5 billion US every year to Jamaica, but we are going to ask that changes be made in order to collect that 3.5 billion. Right? So that is the type of what's the word? A lobbying, if you want to call it, then that we're gonna need to do. And that lobby cannot come from one person. It's gonna need to come from a piece or a portion of that 3 million Jamaicans that live abroad. I think that answers the question.
All right, Sister Maria, I want to say something here,
Sure.
Based on the conversation that we are having, and as it relates to my perception and this discussion. I don't see any policy position coming from the government, right? That is currently stimulating, right, production, particularly where agriculture is concerned. Knowing to the fact that the current government, right, utilizing policy to remove GCT from green produce, right? And so then having our farmer to face a competition that they cannot win, obviously. Now, my thing is that when you look on Jamaica, right, importing, right, just $1.7 billion for the year and exporting $7.8 billion, then we have seen now a trade deficit of roughly about $5.8 billion. So my argument is, where the government now is directing in terms of talking about farming on bauxite land, right, doesn't seem to be creative to me. When, as according to what you said, that there are lands that the government can win back. If the government focus is on agriculture, right, as opposed to have more of its focus on tourism, because to me, right, hearing the argument from the government, it seems like, you know, agriculture is back burner and tourism seems to be the front burner. And we are seeing where the government, even recently, where the government, you know, is applauding, right, the tourism industry to be Jamaica's biggest foreign earner. And at the same time, if the government should break down that for us, right, majority of the money that tourism really is making, generating in the country, is not utilizing or circulating in the country's economy, right? And if you look at farming, right? If you look at farming, the farming, if government focus on agriculture, right, and definitely, right, impose strong more GCT, right, so that could reduce the interest of people carrying in green produce, then it will help to give our farmers, right, a more stronger fight, right, to compete. But again, what that seems to be, right, when you look at it, right, at the face of it, it seems like we have some act of nepotism. And I'm not saying that, you know, it is nepotism, but I'm saying from the face of it, it would have appeared that you have some act of nepotism, cronyism, and skullduggery. And this is why I am saying that. The reason why, because the persons who get the opportunity in getting the license to bring in green produce, right, without paying tax. If we know some of these persons who are getting these contracts, right, getting these licenses, are persons who may have well have been acquainted with the government, and you understand the possibility of political kickbacks and so forth and so forth. That cannot be good for the country in terms of moving the country forward. Because when we look on, you know, we trying to deal with a debt of $2.3 trillion, and we are not paying down our debt. We are only servicing our debt. And when you look at that, the ripple effect is a result to the fact that we are not producing as much. So if you have a caring government, the government now should be now emphasizing, right, to make sure that we are increasing our production level, so that, right, not only tourism in the space, but also treat agriculture, you understand, with a fair level of treatment, right? We are not saying that tourism, right, doesn't do any good for Jamaica, but we are saying that the government need to also emphasize, right, on agriculture, right, putting agriculture in the space, so that, of course, agriculture can have the similar focus, right, like tourism, and so then that within itself, right, will help to increase Jamaica production, will help to increase our farmers' economic growth as well, right, and offer more opportunity to our Jamaican people, right? So that is my take on it, Sister Maria. Sister Maria, if you have anything to say on that, okay. Yes.
Yes, because I'm thinking about Burkina Faso
Yeah.
and what they're doing in Burkina Faso, where they used to import tomato paste, but they have turned that around. They have gotten a plant in gotten people to invest, built a plant, and now they're planting the tomato and making their own tomato paste, and they're now exporting. So I am saying that we need a government, the, to have policies in place where they are negotiating with multilateral agencies on how they can um, bring manufacturing into Jamaica, how they can use the lands for that purposes. Not only manufacturing, okay, so you do some of the manufacturing there, not all of it can be done. You might not have all the things you need to manufacture some things. So you import what you need, you add what you have, and then you re-export all of that. So we have to, how can, but also the farmers themselves, is it possible for them to advocate on their own behalf, to really be that voice, to raise up them, collectively and say, we have, how you're killing our industry. How can, this, how can we survive? Because they have not been surviving through the decades. This is not a today problem. This has been a problem with, through the decades. So how can, farmers, especially small farmers, because remember now, they can't compete with the big companies. So when the seeds come in, they're coming in from big companies. So there was a time when we used to dry the corn and then replant it, dry the peas, replant those seeds. So how can small farmers get back to some of that and
Well,
their, improve their marketing?
well, what's going to have to happen in Jamaica is that every time a new hotel opens, they're going to need to redirect those hotels to ensure that they buy local produce. In other words, you have to put a limit on those guys, and you gotta literally tie your farmers into the expansion of the tourism so that they work hand in hand. A lot of what these guys do is they just say, okay, we're gonna import our food from wherever we're gonna bring it from, and you gotta be down with whatever they're saying. And these guys get their permits to come and build their big hotel, and you end up not helping anyone in the community, right? So it's something that has to move hand in hand. You cannot open a brand new, tell me you're going to have another 500 rooms, and my farmer is still starving, and you're in his community because he's on the other side of the street. You're on the beach side, he's on the other side, but you're bringing food from Australia or Mexico or Canada. It just doesn't make sense,
Doesn't make sense.
right? So
Another thing quickly. Yeah, go ahead. No, I was going to add another piece to that about the youth. How can farmers, small farmers, stay away from using the fertilizer and the pesticide that is issued because it's destroying their soil and their crops?
so to be honest, that's going to be a challenge, right? Because you have industries that have been built up in Jamaica that produce fertilizers in Jamaica, and those persons, they have a business, so they're going to continue to promote their chemical fertilizers or what have you. The best that we can do is to continue to promote organic and continue to promote the things that are going to be more sustainable, right? We probably can't outspend them to become, that competitive. But again, if we unite as a diaspora, we can take this torch a lot further, right? And so that's where it really lies. I believe that the diaspora is the true strength and backbone of Jamaica. When you talk about farmers standing up, a lot of farmers are not necessarily considered to be the most intelligent people. So when it's just, and I'm not saying this to be offensive, they're just not necessarily, the persons that when they speak are being heard, right? It's just a farmer, and then once they're not heard once or twice, they lose the gas, and they don't want to make them. They weren't heard the first time, they weren't heard the second time, they stop, they lose gas. And like I say, I think that support system that's where the diaspora needs to pick up and say, no, we're going to be the voice. We're going to help, because we're still supporting that farmer, right? We're sending that money to our loved ones to plant some more seeds, to and why we need little fertilizers or whatever. And they're calling America, Canada, England to get that money from a loved one to buy a bag of fertilizer, or to buy some seeds, or to buy pesticides, right? So I'm saying that to say, I think that we need to be more instrumental as diaspora, and we need to get more active in the governmental scene of things, right? Being able to lobby with a voice of a percentage of that 3 million people that are abroad, that are responsible for 3 point whatever billion US dollars annually, sustaining people and building homes and doing whatever else we do in Jamaica. We that type of monetary power needs to come with verbalization. It has to. We need to be talking, and we need to be asking for the things that we need. I mean, you see all of these people coming from China or wherever they come from, and they get all of these tax credits and this and that. What about diaspora credits?
Right. So ventilate for me a little further, because you're saying the diaspora, given the contribution they make through remittances, have a bigger voice. So thread the needle for me, if you will, making that connection between diaspora making their voice heard to the government and tying that with their remittances to benefit the local farmers.
Well, look, the government understands what that 3.5 or whatever 3.whatever billion dollars means to the GDP of Jamaica, right? So wherever that number is recorded, whether that's in the Ministry of Finance or wherever, that's probably where our Jamaicans should be threading that needle, right? That's where we should be tapping into and saying, hey, listen, guy, look, right? That we've lifted the burden of government from the 3 million people that are on the land of Jamaica, and we're sustaining them. So, okay, but we need cleaner food, but we need better seeds, but we need better education. I mean, whatever the things are that we need, but I don't think we're doing that. We may come on a program like this that may bring up the topic, but to now engage the millions to say, no, man, we need to change certain things, right? And if it's something to do with tourism or something that's funded, is money. So they don't need all the voices because the money talk. Right? An investor comes in with X amount of billions or whatever money. They get what they need accomplished. It's done. But again, where we have that investment, it's collective investment, but we need to connect that with a voice into Jamaica.
I can say something.
Okay. Yes, Ratty, go ahead.
While I was off camera, I was listening to some of the conversation, and you mentioned lobbying, and you just went back, you circle back to lobbying, and lobbying on the part of the diaspora. One of the questions I want to ask you is, what will it look like? I know you said we have to speak with our voice. We have the money, and Sister Maria said, well, thread the needle. But I still don't see where you thread the needle, because she's saying, tell us in plain terms, how will we, what will it look like when you say, oh, you know, we have 3 million plus overseas and we send 3 point something billion back, and so we need to have a voice. And so the question is, okay, what give us a vision of what it look like in plain, stark, everyday terms. Like, for example, and let me give an example.
I hear you.
Okay, all right, fine, go ahead then. But hold on, before you answer, because let me just ask a couple of things. If you don't mind, Mystic, I have a couple of things.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
The other thing is that you mentioned that these foreign conglomerates, corporations, they come in the hotel sector, and they come in and they get the permits. And so the question was, okay, they get it, and so as a diaspora, this is connected to the lobbying argument. Is this, when they go in as a single entity. When China goes into Jamaica, it doesn't go in as, you know, Sichuan province or, you know, another province or whatever. They go in as China. When the US goes in, it goes in. That's tentacles, you know, USAID and so on and so forth. But when they go in with a strong, united voice. I think that's where we're going, saying that, well, diaspora is not united. We're a fractured group. And the government knows this, and they play favorites, and they have Judases all over the place. And so when you form an organization and you say, I'm going in, they'll find somebody inside here, you know, for sell out like how them sell out Marcus Garvey. So how do you get that voice, you know, that united voice to go in? Another thing is that when these people go in, they go in and they get concessions, right? We're not getting the concessions. They're going to get the concessions. And we're talking about, you're saying, well, they need to buy food from local people. That's one of the concessions. They don't have to buy people, because then the local farmers can't even compete with the imports they're bringing in, because they're bringing it from wherever, but it's far cheaper than a Jamaican farmer can produce and sell to them and make a profit and feed his family and take care of the community. Another thing is, when you do farming, there's an essential element to farming. Seeds are essential. My brethren gone.
I'm here.
No, he's here.
Yeah. Seeds are essential. But I tell you something that's equally essential. That is water. You can't farm without water. And this government has promised. I went back while I was here talking, and I look at the 2020 manifesto, and then promise all kind of water distribution thing and all that. And we know farmers in Jamaica who they have to depend upon the Almighty to send down the rain, because them don't have a proper water distribution system so that them can take care of them farms and all of this stuff. So that's another thing that we have to look at. Let me see what else I have here. Cheap, the cheap imports. We talk about fertilizer, my brethren, and
yes,
I want you to look into this, because you're in the farming thing. I want you to look into the 4 or 5 shipments that came from Morocco. Each shipment 2.6 million pounds since 2021. I want you, because what I'm driving at is that at its core, there is corruption in the agriculture sector. And how do you rid Jamaica of that present element, destructive element? How do you rid corruption out of it? Because you can't tell me that 2.6 million pounds per shipment coming to Jamaica, and people don't know where they're. I have the documentation, and the documentation shows that it's bogus. Nobody knows where that fertilizer is. Them say rather supposed to distribute it, and then we say under the cover of midnight, we say trucks are delivered to other trucks, or them are delivered to places that are not RADA offices. So I know I've thrown a lot at you. Just pick any one of them and you can talk about it. I'm here, I'm just listening.
I think first we need to talk about the collective effort that needs to happen within the diaspora. And that cannot, again, it might come under the auspices of creating a massive marketing project, if you want to call it that, where we lay out something very specific that is affecting Jamaica to the diaspora. And when I say the diaspora, I mean people that are Jamaicans, the children of Jamaicans that are interested in Jamaica, and basically just create this, just the same way that they create that that backing for Tessa and Chin when she's on The Voice, or it's a very common thing. It's not necessarily an organization per se. Farm Up Jamaica might be the organization that's saying we're lobbying to rid Jamaica of whatever, right? Or to bring better seeds to Jamaica. But it's a general statement and not controlled by any specific individual or group. Why? Because it deters a lot of our Jamaican diaspora if that particular group may not be somebody that you like, or no. You just want to do this for the pride. Do it for Jamaica. Jamaica first, right? And then now you can get enough people on board, especially if we're successful with whatever it is that we're asking for. So let's say you say, okay, guys, we're asking the Jamaican whoever to ban this specific whatever. And let's say we win and they do ban whatever. It sends a signal that yes, our voices collectively change something in Jamaica. So when you put out the next poll and you ask them to do it again, you'll get just the same amount of people ready to fire along, stand with you, I should say, to make this thing happen again. That's how our voices can become more powerful within Jamaica as a Jamaican diaspora, and not necessarily a Jamaican diaspora organization, because that's a whole nother kettle of fish, right? Because the Jamaica diaspora organization will only have certain members because some people don't know the person that is in the government, or somebody got the connection, or it's too political. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't mean politics. It's just too political in general.
Let me just interject. Let me just interject quickly and just tell you that if you're thinking about getting a homogeneous group with a single voice to raise the issue, it's not going to happen. It never will happen. You know when it not in this case. You know when it will happen? For a sporting event. It will happen. People forget about politics for a sporting event. When Usain Bolt around, everybody are Jamaican. You don't have no PNP or no Labour. Everybody out. When Tessana sing, everybody there. But when you start talking about this,
hold on, stick up in. I don't cut you. But when you're eating an ackee, or you're eating an avocado that does not taste the way it used to taste 20, 30, 40 years ago, that's a concern that I believe everybody would join. We want to bring back food, the flavor of food to Jamaica.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What that means is that you'd have to go, like I just did, into their manifesto and say, government, you promised this and you didn't deliver it.
Might be.
And that's why therein the whole thing mash up, because you're going to have some people are going to say, you can't tell the government that and them support the government and blah, 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 blah. So you will never, what you have to do, here's what I suggest to you. Farm up, and you said also that it shouldn't be an organization or a person. I say to you, stand up, take up the mantle, Farm Up Jamaica. You're talking about the agriculture sector. You take the lead. We will follow. Take the lead. I don't know nothing about agriculture, but I like what you say. And like you said, people that said the avocado not taste the same way, we will follow you, sir. So the idea of that we are going to go with our boys, but we don't have no leader, we don't have no organization. I don't support that. I support Farm Up Jamaica. I support you. I like the way you talk. Yeah. And I say, if you come up with a plan and say, listen, folks, we're going, I am with you. And the people who support me, I'm going to tell them that we're all going with Farm Up Jamaica.
Yeah. Well, when I said that, I'm trying to explain, if it becomes a political, if that avocado becomes political, whether it's green or it's orange, then we lose half of the people that we want to bring on board anyway. But if we just keep it as an avocado then guess what? I can bring everybody along. The voices are collective and they don't have any reason to not be on board. You understand? Although I do understand that politics play a big role in Jamaica, but I don't believe that I want, as far as Farm Up Jamaica is concerned, we don't want to bring that into, no matter, even if some of our members may have political views and some of them don't. But the bottom line is that's not what we're leaning
But
on. That's not what we are.
Sorry to interject, but here's the thing: it's unavoidable because the moment there is no one single voice in any of these issues, and the moment you start saying, "All right, give an example," like for example, now you say, "Well, wait a minute, you can't farm without water," and now you're gonna say, "Well, government, you said you were gonna provide this thing here." And you don't have it, turned political. If you say, government, why is it that you're using the bauxite land now? Why is it that we didn't use another piece of land? It's gonna be political. You go, trust me. You know, you see, once you have your focus and you have your goal, people will follow you. No worry about you can't get everybody, brethren. You cannot get everybody.
And I want to say this then. Let's just say the opposition made that complaint. Right? And you know how childish political parties can be. I'm going to use that word, childish, because it happens in Jamaica, it happens in America, it happens all over the world. I did something very good for our community. Somebody takes over the government and reverts that back to something that was bad, only because I didn't do it. You understand what I'm saying? And again, all I'm saying to you is we don't want that to be a reason why even our own agricultural programs that we establish get overturned if a new government comes in or not. You understand what I'm saying? So all I'm saying to you is we don't want it to lean, although there may be many followers that might be JLP, many followers that may be PMP. We don't want it to be predicated on whether you were green or orange. We just want people that love Jamaica to say, listen, that avocado is green and the cherry is red. You understand what I'm saying? So in other words, again, you have children of the diaspora, 35, 40-year-old, know nothing about politics, but they know that they love Jamaica. They love Jamaica, and they know that they want to visit Jamaica every year, and they know that they spend their money to fly and to spend whatever, right? All I'm saying is the agricultural topic that Farm Up Jamaica is moving forward is not definitely one party or the other. We don't want to do it because we realize that even in our own local diaspora, when we open our mouth about this thing, you have a guy will ask me, I'll never forget when we first started, a man asked me, what side are you on? And I said, we're not on any particular side, but what we do want is the best for Jamaica. So guess what? Whichever one of those parties decide to embrace us, we're not gonna turn down that we're rolling, right? We're not going to tell you, you are green, you can't come on board. You are red, you can't come on board. But you come with embrace. You want to embrace it? Come and embrace it and say, yes, we love diaspora and we want you guys in the country helping us to bring good food to everybody. You understand? I mean, listen, I've been down the road. I've been invited to a community. And when I got to the community, we go to the community and speak to farmers. When I got to the community, I was invited to one of the political headquarters. So now you know the farmers in that building are only one side because the other farmers will never step foot in that building. And I still had to go in there and I had to tell them, I'm going to come back in 2 weeks and I want you to do this at a church. I know you're the original people that invited us, but we're going to do this at a center. And we're going to speak to all the farmers. Now, if your people that if one side of farmers buy into it more than the other side of farmers, so be it. But I cannot just speak to one side of farmers. We have to. Jamaica is everyone, and that apple that you're gonna eat could be grown by one side or the other, but you're still going to eat the apple.
Okay, let me come in here.
Before you let me just say something, ask something to Neil. Your agricultural, your focus on reconstruction of soil and stuff, does it extend to the fishing industry? Because that's an industry that has been decimated right now as well because of chemicals and because of pollution. So has it been extended to include that and that sort of thing?
No, we haven't gotten. I'll be honest with you. We've really been focused on soil and plant life, right? Even when you speak about livestock, we've identified certain things in livestock, right? Like we went into a egg rearing program where we want to see healthier eggs in Jamaica and how we could do organic egg rearing. Yes, those are things we spoke about. Goats, we've even looked at the goat industry, and Jamaica should really be supplying its own goats and providing secure facilities for people to grow goats. These are investment areas that Jamaicans abroad can get involved in a controlled way where we don't lose money and nobody is robbing anyone. These are things that can be discussed. We can work that out. You understand? But it's going to take more than just our group. We need the Jamaica diaspora. I need every Jamaican that has Jamaican blood, if there's any such thing, coursing through their veins, to come together and say, yes, we're going to fix something. And I know that that's hard.
All right.
That's hard to do.
All right. Yeah. Let me just come in here because I listened to all the conversation, right? And what I observed, right? If we ask any of us on the panel, right, how long have we been toying, right, with the politics of the day as it relates to the progress that need to be done in making move and focus on agriculture, right, manufacturing and so forth and so forth. And that politics seems to be quite a protracted period, so prolonging and consistent. And so then, I am saying tonight, as it relates to Farm Up Jamaica, when you look and to see how the politics, right, as it relates to, right, growing our agriculture, right, and make it becomes a force to reckon with, right, we are going to can we use what we call take the bull by the horn strategy? What do I mean in terms of taking the bull by the horn strategy? And this is where the focus has to be. Now, the focus has to be first on education. People have to be educated and have an understanding of the importance of agriculture and what that can do for a nation success, right? So education is vitally important. Now, when we look at the order of the day with the politics and nepotism and the level of corruption and all of that, right? Regardless of how you want to move, right, in the diaspora, right, as a collective effort, you still have to, at some point, right, being engaged politically, because without a political decision made, then nothing can move progress, because we have a government. We have a government at the and whether the government is going to be PNP or GLP. So then, let us take that in factor. Where I am going in the sense that, okay, all right, when we consider that 3.2 billion annually, right, coming from the diaspora, and if the diaspora, if a group like your group move towards educating people, and showing the importance of our $3.2 billion to the economy. And we decided that, okay, let us use this as an advantage, whether the government may be green or orange, right?
Correct.
That
Correct.
we hold on our $3.2 billion per year. That becomes a significant factor.
Now you're talking.
Exactly. That now becomes a significant factor. So then we are not going to say, okay, we are open on the politics, whether it is PNP or GLP, right, to come our way. We are telling them that here is the key, $3.2 billion annually, right? We have the key. So guess what? We are holding the key. Unless the government, right, in agreement with us before we turn this key. So we need to stop from, just following behind, and seems like we are begging, you understand, the politician to come and look and please put some emphasis in agriculture and so forth, because it will never happen, because the politicians have players that is going to benefit their own pockets.
That is right.
At the end of the day, let us utilize the strategy by taking the bull by the horn and say, listen, $3.2 billion coming from us. So this is what we want. So then what
you're talking, my brother.
Okay.
No, you're talking. You're threading the needle as Daisy said.
Yes. So we can, as OT said, remittance, you understand, we use that as a leverage. So it is the people, exactly. So it is the people who is going to force the government, you understand, to have a focus on agriculture and legislate to benefit agriculture and put agriculture forward. Regardless of any other mission that we are going to use, it is not going to work. Because we have seen over years that nothing has worked.
Nothing else.
So until we can decide, say, look here, let us get together as a group. Let us show the importance of the diaspora. $3.2 billion annually, right? Even as it relates to the tourism, which is number one, as according to Edmund Bartlett, right? That it is the number one foreign earner, whatever, right? But the diaspora, you understand, putting strong value. We need to use that as a leverage until Jamaican people can move together, right? Decided how important the diaspora input is and move forward in that regards. I yield back.
All right. So
yeah, and before you go, Neil, and earlier you talked about the hotel industry and how they are not supporting the local farmers. So it goes back now, piggybacking off what Mystic just said. So when they're negotiating with a company who wants to put up a hotel there, tied into that negotiation should be you have to get your produce from the local farmers. It doesn't matter where you put it up. Everything you need sugar cane, you get it from the local farmers. You need sugar cane, you can get wet sugar. So that is the thing.
And that investment should be a part of the investment of the hotel. That hotelier should have now promised not only to take that 5 or 10 or 15 or 30 acre property that he's going to build this massive hotel on, but he's also planning to do a revitalization of agriculture within the sector where he's going to put the hotel, because there's a poor community living right across the street and up into the hills. Okay, so that's a part of the negotiation. I think that there's tons of poor negotiators in Jamaica, because even when you look at road work, when I see road work and you see this big hot highway coming through, I think off of every exit there should be five miles of good road and small roads that come off of each one of those exits. You understand? But again, we have to be a united front to talk about that. You can't everybody that comes off of that exit and then drops into a pothole. needs to actually say, well, wait a minute now. You understand? We have to start to reconstruct the conversation. Forget about what they did in Jamaica 50 years ago. Forget about what somebody else did, or Nanny or whoever else. No, this is 2024. We have to chart a new course. It cannot sound like anything. If it sounds like anything that you've heard in the past, then it's not correct. Because I can't tell you that when a farmer calls Farm Up Jamaica, and the guy going to tell me, say, boy, me a plant onion for the last 40 years, you can't tell me what to do. Okay, apparently you need our help. So there's something wrong with the way you've been planting onion for the last 40 years. Okay, so if everything was perfect, then everything would be right. Well, you wouldn't need me to come and tell you that. When I go to Jamaica and tell people corn is planted every 6 inches and it's 1 seed per hole, them say, what you talking about? A 3 seed per hole. Why do you need 3 seeds per hole? Why are you planting your corn every 18 inches? I don't get it all now. But I can take you to 1 million farms in America that plant corn every 6 inches. That means that the slave master has told you to plant it every 18 inches so you don't get the right yield and you can only feed your family. Okay? Mm-hmm. And you have taken that for the last 100 years and continue to do it, and you're teaching your children to do the same thing. And I come and tell you it's every 6 inches, and you're going to tell me, say, boy, that boy, them foreign people don't know what they matter about, you know. You understand? I'm just telling you, you have an uphill battle in Jamaica. That's why I'm telling you, we need the voices. Because even that same loved one, just comes to a point where you tell him, listen, if you don't plant it every 6 inches, I'm not sending you no remittance. Simple. So you're going to plant it every 6 inches and you're going to use 1 seed in each hole. That's it. Because they are so brainwashed and the system has gotten them to a point where they can't even take direction. You understand? And again, I'm saying this to say there's a lot to be learned. We've trained over 775 young people in new sustainable technology. How to plant food through a drought and use 66% less water. Right? These are the things that we are teaching. We don't just teach regular general agriculture. We like when we find a young person that has some knowledge of agriculture, but we teach them things that they've never seen before. How to reconstruct the soil so that the soil works for you and not against you. Why you need to see those earthworms in your soil before you put even 1 root of pepper in the ground. You understand? Those are the things that we're talking about. We're not talking about, boy, get me 2 bags of fertilizer and some of the pesticide. No. Agriculture is not chemistry. It's Mother Nature. And you have to figure out how to get back to Mother Nature so that the food can now be what it used to be when Jamaica was on top. That is where we're going with Farm Up Jamaica. Again, I'd love to have this conversation with any interested party that is interested in supporting what we are doing, because we need to tell our friends and family, and everybody needs to chip in a little $1. And that money, we don't even need to control it. We can put it in a remote bank account with nobody touching it. But it needs to grow a specific crop, not 1 million crops, a specific crop that can be distributed to those hotels. That we, Farm Up Jamaica, has already made those inroads to the hotels. They are ready to buy the produce from us as long as they can get it consistently. And they're loving the idea that it's going to be organic. And they're loving the idea that it's going to come from a local farm, so that now they can write a little story on the menu to tell the people that are visiting from abroad that this lettuce just came from one of our local Jamaican farmers, and how you are helping a farmer by just buying it. We did it with Round Hill Hotel. They had Farm Up Jamaica food all over their menu. And telling a story how when you buy this food, how it's helping the community surrounding us, and how it's doing this. And you know, the foreign people just go crazy for that. How many stores are on the hip strip where they have the black ladies running the store for the Indian guys from India, and them have to tell the tourists that yes, it's their store, and it's not their store, because the foreigners want to buy and support local Jamaican people. So you understand? So when you understand that alone, and how we are missing the boat in so many ways, it is a travesty. It's brainwashed 2024, and we sit down and do it every day as if it is normal business.
But you know, I'm listening to you, Neil, and I'm thinking about there's a quiet revolution that is taking place right now, especially in local communities across Jamaica, where social media is now trying to change the narrative when it comes to, especially the hotel industry, where people are going to social media persons who have as their platform doing food or preparing organic food, cooking rice and peas with real coconut milk. They show you they grate the coconut juice, the milk, and that is a quiet revolution that is taking place. You know, but I also, when I'm listening to you, I hear you saying there has to be a reordering of the agricultural sector, bringing it into the 21st century. So if you make agriculture the core of how you're building the economy, everything else builds out from that. Because you're going to need a proper road infrastructure. The hotels are going, everything is going to come as a result of that. So you have investors coming in. Leave the beaches alone. Let the people have the beaches for free. But when the investors come, they have to understand. You have to negotiate with them. Listen, agriculture is the core. So whatever you do, it must impact the local farmers. So what if it's a manufacturing company, they must benefit. If it's road infrastructure, so I see where agriculture being the core can have a greater impact on the economy of Jamaica, and not just relying on tourism, because the truth of the matter is the tourism dollars, most of it stays overseas and not in Jamaica. So we need to stop behaving like it is a myth. The majority of the money that comes from tourism does not go in Jamaica. Even in the hotels, everything is.
And that is a big mistake.
It is a mistake. And the thing is, what you have as well is all inclusives. Everything is there, but it is not sourced from the local farmers. It is brought in from other places. And that is another mistake that they're making. They should have made sure those hoteliers take from the local. It used to be, it's not. They have to go back to that to start the real revitalization of the agricultural sector in Jamaica.
Well, I'll tell you this. I am all for that. And whoever wants to come and say, let Neil, make we sit down and put this thing together and let me pull my team together. I'm sitting right now in Sam's Caribbean Marketplace, which is one of our primary supporters of what we do. And again, these are people that keep Farm Up Jamaica alive. And I'm telling you that, again, it's just takes people like these to say, you know what? No, man. Every person that comes to our store has to now jump on board because we are lobbying to do X. Are we in the middle of a piece of property that's gonna grow X amount of acres of lettuce to feed the hotel? Nothing better than action oriented, like putting these things back into the system, man. Nothing better than that. Because even when you talk about politics, a lot of those guys have great talk, mouthpiece, but it's the action. When them see the action now, them want come now, because they saw that we kicked it off as a diaspora organization, right? So I'm just saying to you, we can have a lot more traction, understanding that people move off of action. When them see something happening, everybody wants to be on that train.
All right. Neil, let me come in here and say something, because we don't want to just have you here on the platform and, we talk about, what we have talked about, right? We want to plan a way forward in terms of how we get the information out there, in terms of bringing more people towards your program, and where your program can spread the message, your program can grow, your program can educate. And when you educate towards a particular objective, right, in terms of, when you have that vacuum space to work with, right, and you realize that now your organization now is powerful. So if your organization say A, right, then A can be done as it relates to, regardless, you understand, of the politics of the day.
That is correct.
Yes. So let us know, how can someone becomes, a part of you? How we can build on the momentum of what you have, and so that we can spread it. And particularly, we have majority of the diaspora joining in and understand the importance of us coming together, right, with one object, speak with one voice.
One voice.
One voice. The importance of agriculture, the focus that we need to have to bring the country forward. So please tell us how we can do this.
Okay. The way forward is for us to use, and I'm going to tell you this, because we're so forward thinking in what we're doing, is to use the social media to create these questionnaires, if you would call them, and to bring people on board, and maybe polls, right, where we're basically asking them, listen, you love Jamaica, this is what we're asking you, what we need to accomplish. And it needs to speak to the heart of the person. So it might take all 20, 30 people to come up with the messaging that's going to go forward. But when we put that message out, it's going to engage people from around the world to actually want to do something. We have to make it seem that way. It's all about the message. And that message, like I say to you, it might be me and you and Ratigan and Daisy and, coming together and coming up with that proper messaging and brainstorming that to make to how it needs to, how do we need to unite these diaspora. I could tell you simply to join Farm Up Jamaica, become our friend on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and what have you. Yes, that's wonderful. But I'm going to ask you to do that, but I'm going to ask you to also look out for our polls, look out for our questionnaires that when we're engaging people. That's going to be important, because those voices that we have on that petition, if you would call it, is going to be that same petition that we present to the government to say, listen, we have 500,000 signatures that says we want fresh Jamaican lettuce in every damn hotel. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what it's, and again, we have tools that we can use now. And again, like you said, and even people like you said that quiet revolution that's happening, where they're using what they call them?
Social media influencers, yes. Yes, social media. Yes, yes.
Using the influencers, we need to bring those influencers and make this their cause to move forward. Not to big up Farm Up Jamaica, but to change the mindset of Jamaica. That is what we want to do. So when you go to Jamaica, you see the change and you say, Rotted, they really did it. Oh my God, that inspires you to want to come back. You understand? But when we just sit in our room and we talk it out and keep talking it out, from now till 1,000 years from now, we'll just be talking it out. But when the action happens and people say, whoa, we go there, and you want to see all the menu have a Jamaican lettuce them a eat now, and it's Jamaican pineapple. We grew up pineapple in Jamaica that rivals any pineapple worldwide. Why? The pineapple was proving to be hypoallergenic. That means people that have pineapple allergies can eat pineapple, which is about 30% of the general population of the world, right? 30% of the population has pineapple allergies. When they eat the pineapple, tongue scratch, bump up on the lip, this and what have you, right? That we have eliminated that in our most recent trials, and even had that pineapple again at Roundhill Hotel. Big up to Roundhill Hotel and Ralph Lauren and Catherine over there. You understand? So again, like I say to you, there are things that if we come together under this unification, as we say, we can change Jamaica. But that has to happen. And I think that is where we need to put a lot more of our time. And then we can literally steer the things the way that we want them to be. Why? Because we're not going to steer it wrong. We're looking for improvement. We want to feel more comfortable in Jamaica when we go there. So we know that this our interest is not just mine or your interest, it's everybody's interest.
Okay, very good. Because let me just try to finish up with you here by each one of us might ask you the final question before we close with you, because we have some hot topics to come up right in the next segment, right? So my final question, Sir Curtis, do you have like yearly seminar in the diaspora and workshop?
The last seminar we did was at the Jamaica Performing Arts in New York. We invited Jamaica Stock Exchange to come to New York and stand side by side with us to talk about investments in Jamaica. The performing arts holds some 700 people. We brought in over 1,000 to talk about this. And agriculture, of course, was one of the main investment topics outside of stock market and whatever else, right? The fire marshal had to take out the additional 300. And so we know that we can have the forum, and the forum will be well attended. We just need to unite, and we need to put our selfish interests away and think about Jamaica first. Money can be made down the line, but let's form the foundation first for which proper investments can thrive in Jamaica.
All right, Sister Maria, any final question for?
Yeah, you have been working with like community clusters to do soil reconstruction, rehabilitation. How is that going right now? Do you see it expanding from the current clusters that you have?
Okay, so most of the clusters that we've worked with are somewhere between the ages of 17 to 24 years old. Those guys are calling every day wanting us to connect the diaspora to their communities so that they can expand what you're saying. So again, we've created this wonderful model that now just needs us to come together and take it to the next level. It's in place. I just need us to sit down and have that discussion, and this could be the core group for it. You understand? Because as long as we have Jamaica at heart first, which is never that, by the way. Everybody else is a me thing, and then by the time the me fall apart, the whole thing dies. And again, we have to come together without the what is in it for me initially. I believe that the what is in it for me does exist down the road, because of course, if you're investing in agriculture and it's manufacturing, right? 1 pound of ginger in the yielding season is 20 pounds. So 1,000 pounds is 20,000 pounds.
Yes.
Right? So
Before you, let me interject here before you move on. You talk about ginger, but there is a problem with ginger being affected by a virus. How is that happening? Is there any truth to that? And
all right,
what is the situation now?
I'm gonna help you real quick on that because I'm gonna have to jump off soon. But okay, so ginger in Jamaica, the original ginger, those small gingers that we know that are so very potent, they don't have that disease that they're talking about. It's called rot. What is it? Rhizome rot. Right? That rhizome rot came from the government experimenting with the ginger rhizome and claiming to do something called tissue culture. That tissue culture went the wrong direction. It's similar to GMO, but it's not GMO. Similar to GMO. And they figured they were going to make a ginger with a standardized size and a standardized flavor because, you know, it can the variation can be vast when you talk about ginger. But we find, and the way Farm Up Jamaica plants ginger, is we find the original ginger stock, the old-time ginger, and we just flourish that continually in a reconstructed soil. We get better ginger, we get slightly bigger ginger, and it's just as hot as it was when your parents grew it 50 years ago, 60 years ago.
Yeah, and the producer's asking me to ask you if Sam's has the ginger candy. There's a Jamaican Choice ginger candy that we're not getting anywhere, so we're wondering if Sam's has any ginger candy. So you could find out and let us know.
Hold a second. Let me take a quick look. You said the Jamaican Choice ginger candy? Andrew, do we have the Jamaican Choice ginger candy? I see Jamaican Choice tambourine balls here.
Okay.
We haven't tried that, but we have been looking for the ginger candy, yeah. But where's it located? Where's it located? Yes.
Jamaican Choice ginger candy. Well, now that you've requested that, I'm sure that Andrew, who is right here, will get it for you.
All right.
But we have to find out where he is so I can support him. Yes.
I'll show you something. So at the back of Andrew's store, up on the wall, you see that?
Yes.
Farm Up Jamaica.
That is correct.
All right.
Because he understands the importance of this thing. And you see all of these young people up here? These are young people that we have trained.
Let's just checking out this website.
Right? And even on the other side. And we have a program where we bring people from other places to come and farm with us also. And you find that a lot of the American people, a lot of the tourists want to come and do a day of service. In 2022, we bought 300 people to come and plant pineapple with us. They supported Jamaica. They spent their money to come to Jamaica and even supported the farms and the local farmers. So again, there are so many things that we can talk about, and I think maybe even off the air, we can get much deeper into how we can unite and make this thing work.
Definitely.
Right.
Your final question before Mr. Curtis go, because Mr. Curtis is in that readiness to exit.
One simple question.
Yeah, I have children to put to bed.
One simple question. What is the biggest challenge you have faced so far in achieving your goal? And what is the biggest challenge you foresee facing in achieving your mission?
The mindset of the Jamaican governments and the mindset of the Jamaican diaspora. My two biggest hurdles. Not so much the mindset of the Jamaican government sees anything coming in to do any social work as competition. They don't see it as a unification and what something that they need to plug into. They see it like you're coming to compete. We're not coming to compete. We're coming to actually lift the burden of government, which is a very important thing. The same way that the remittances lift burden of government. That's what it does. Otherwise, these guys would have to answer to all of these people that don't have food to eat.
What's your interaction with Minister Green?
Okay, so every minister that has ever come into Jamaica, we have met, including Minister Green. We started out with Mr. Clark, and then we moved on to whoever was the next. But I don't remember all the names. But with Minister Green has shown. We did a concert most recently, and he's shown that he was interested in getting involved in that, and has mentioned in many occasions that if we do need assistance, that he would make himself available. But we haven't gotten that far in with him as yet. But again, like I say to you, we started with Roger Clark. We moved on to I think the next one was when he passed away. It was, I know Mr. Buchanan was the junior, but then and they had a good permanent secretary. What was his name again? I can't remember all of it. It's too much.
You had Pernell Charles Jr. before
Yes,
Green.
I met with him also. He was actually in New York, and we met with him. And he also expressed interest that this was something. They all find the Farm Up Jamaica concept a bit interesting, and they probably try to figure out how does that plug into everything. But again, it's normally we end up not getting that close to most of the politics. Why I don't want to.
Well, there you have it, people, and we try to gauge the politics in a very technical way, and I think we achieved that. I want to say big thanks, my brother, right, Curtis, to come on the program and educate us. We really, really appreciate that. And we hope you visit again sometime soon than, later, right? That we can now, making progress in getting a lot of people interested to understand what Farm Up Jamaica is.
Well, and we will.
And that we all need to speak with one voice.
I agree, and I think that should be our next journey, and maybe we should come back on this program again after we have come up with a way for us to work together to make that happen.
Here you go.
Okay.
All right.
So guys, I have put the link for the Farm Up.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
So you can go
blessings, my brother.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Rattigan. Thank you, Daisy. And thank you, Mystic Sensation.
Blessings. All right. Thank you. Wonderful program. Really love it. All right. So, Brother Ratti and Sister Daisy, I want you to gear up, because the next topic is coming, is quite a heart-rendering situation that we are going to delve into, right? And, it's a situation with an extrajudiciary killing, right, that we want to look on, right, and, have a discussion about it. So, without any delay, right, we are going to get into it and, speak on length where that is concerned, right? Let us find this bring up this clip, right? So we want to get into settings. Yes. So we are going to get into, just want to show something here. All right, so bear with us, folks. Let us just. Yeah.
One second, guys. There's going to be.
All right.
Because I have to have it.
So we are coming up with that clip.
So what is it under? Okay. All right.
Man. If the deputy prime minister and the prime minister sit in the same cabinet.
Yeah, for wonder though.
No, I don't wonder. I can tell you exactly what happened.
What, tell me now?
The Minister of National Security speak about the policies that the cabinet come to the decision. The prime minister will not allow anything to slip by that make it look that is unfavorable. So he will give all the promise and commitment for the election in the year. But I hope everybody just realize that that is the type of man. He's going to tell you how much he's going to buy, how much he's going to this, because he wants to be on the side where nobody criticizes him for inept.
But isn't that what politicians do, brethren?
I'm not saying no.
Oh,
so don't blame the Minister of National Security.
Okay. But the Minister of National Security was talking nonsense.
But it's nonsense. They decided on Simon.
No, man. Come on. The man said body cameras are almost useless in the issue of combat and so on, as if that's the only time body cams are to be used. And eventually followed it up by saying, listen, we have greater priorities, whether it's to buy vests or helmets or so on, suggesting that the focus of the government is not on the body cams. But the Prime Minister came out and contradicted that.
But the Prime Minister did not say what the Minister said was not truth.
Well, I don't think
he did not criticize
I
him.
don't think he's going to come out and criticize him, but he said we are spending 200 million on body cams and a further, I think, 70-odd million on the system in order to retrieve the data from the body cams, which suggests an entirely different approach to that of the Minister of Security.
Simon, how long are you living in Jamaica permanent?
Reason being for the question?
No. No, because I want to ask you, how much of the commitment that we get since 2016 that they can tick off? All the 100-day commitment, what will happen? This is the election season, and the Prime Minister wants to be in most people's good book. Okay. So I'm going to tell you all the things to make you feel good.
Well, he better tell some of his ministers then to keep quiet.
Well, he came out, you know.
All right. Yeah, we are going to take that away, but I play that because I want all the listeners, right, to focus as it relates to body cameras, right? And, you know, what the Minister of National Security has to say regarding body cameras, right? Now we are going to turn to a news that is quite interesting. And then we are going to get into some videos. And then after Ratty, we are going to, Daisy and Ratty, we are going to break down what we had observed, we will be observing in that video. Now let us go to the news as it relates to the next clip. So the Minister of National Security, right, based on his views that the body camera, right, doesn't play much essence in terms of capturing certain information, you understand, that is valid based on what his argument is. Can you go ahead and play it on it?
To a TVJ News follow-up, the two JCF officers implicated in the controversial shooting of 3 men in East Kingston last week have been charged. This following a ruling by the Office of the Public Defender. Corporal Mark Roy and Constable Kelby White have been charged jointly for 3 counts of murder, 3 counts of using a firearm to commit a felony, contrary to Section 14 Firearms Act, 2 counts of perverting the course of justice, making a false report, and planting and or inferring the finding of an object at the scene. The officers have also been charged for willfully making a false statement to an investigator, contrary to Section 33 of the Independent Commission of Investigations Act. They will make their first court appearance this week.
Take it away, honey. So, Ratty and Maria, now, as it relates to what the Minister of National Security said, and the incident that I'm about to show, now, we are talking about, you know, whether it is CCTV, whether it is body camera, right, or any form of medium that can use to capture any form of surveillance data, right? We have these policemen, right, who had committed extrajudiciary killings and gave false statement, right? False statement. And let us say, in terms of what the minister said, if there was no CCTV footage that captured the incident that I'm going to show, these policemen would have possibly gotten off, right, away. And it is not the only incident that been happening, right? There are several of these incidents that been taking place, and where in many of these incidents, the government really doesn't come out. You don't hear anything from the government, even although you have other videos showing extrajudiciary killing, nothing from the government. But Sister Maria and Brother Ratty, I want you to pay attention on these 2 videos that I'm going to highlight. Look at this, Sister Maria and Brother Ratty. Let me do this. Yeah. No. No. The other one.
That's the first, okay. This one.
Yeah. Look keenly on what happened here. Okay. All right. We are going to go through the other video, right? And then we speak on the matter here. So share the next video on it. Take that away. Discussion at the table here in terms of, you know, what we had witnessed. Very erroneous. Quite despicable, Sister Maria. Right? Brother Ratty, before you speak, I'm just gonna have Sister Daisy jump on this. Right? Now, but let me say something. We had seen where these men were held in the police custody. They were searched. Right? Search. Held in the police custody, search. And where the police step back roughly about 2 or 3 feet and then open fire. Right? I don't know what to call it in terms of, because what I want to say, I can't really say it on the platform here. But Sister Maria, speak on what you have seen there.
Standard operating practice by law enforcement in Jamaica. This is not the first time that we have seen situations like this. And you hear that they were attacked and there was a camera. There remember the gentleman who was unalived in his backyard and they didn't know that he had a CCTV camera, and it clearly showed that all of these officers were milling around. He ended up deceased, and they're saying, oh, they came under attack. From whom? So this is their standard operating practice, but they have gotten carte blanche to do this because of the rhetoric from the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security. When the Prime Minister comes out and says, meet a judge or meet your maker, he is emboldening law enforcement to do whatever they want to the Jamaican people because they're not going to be they won't be held accountable. Secondly, when you have the Minister of National Security says, kill first and then ask questions later, that further emboldens them. Then when he comes out and says that body cameras are a waste of time, they do these things knowing full well that they have the backing of the government. I think the reason that they have been charged and that Indicom has investigated and leveled charges against them, not only because it was caught on camera, because it involved 3 people. What happened to the one guy? Have those officers been held accountable? No. So this is not the first time that this has happened and nobody has given account. Thankfully, they are being held accountable, and I hope they face the full extent of the law, because these are human beings. These are people's children. These are their neighbors. All right. And if they're not old enough to have children, they have siblings, they have parents, they have cousins, they have aunts and uncles. And this is how you treat your fellow human being. And we must also understand that Jamaica, for a number of years now, has been violating the human rights of Jamaica. They have serious human rights violations. They have not addressed those, and they don't seem to care to address those. And this is how law enforcement is treating Jamaican people. It's an indictment on all of them. It's an indictment on law enforcement, but it's also an indictment on the Minister of National Security and the Prime Minister, whose rhetoric has fed this kind of behavior, this rogue behavior from law enforcement officers, both in the JDF and the Jamaica Constabulary Force. So they cannot be absolved of it. They are part of the problem. They are part of the problem. And unless and until they start to see Jamaicans as human beings, they are one step removed from being where those gentlemen are, where they put them. They are once a policeman and twice a civilian. They will never have their badge, their guns to defend them. And the truth is, they are just criminals with badge and gun. And given how many guns have gone, cannot be accounted for in Jamaica, no wonder they can find things to plant on them. And because they're not wearing body cameras to help to either vindicate them or to prosecute a case against them, we have this problem. But thankfully, there was an unseen eye that was watching them, and they got caught. So this is God on time, in the words of Isaac.
But Sister Maria, let me say something before Ratigan comes in here. Right? Now, we had that on camera, right? And we all saw that. However, what happened to the two other cases that I'm going to tell you about? Those cases that, of course, were captured, right, either by phone or on CCTV. The gentleman who got killed in St. Catherine, where policemen went to his home, took him out of his bedroom, right, took him around the zinc fence, asked him to kneel, rest his hand on his shoulder, asked him to kneel, right, and have him executed, right? We have not heard anything from the government. So we are saying that based on what we are seeing is the government, is tolerating extrajudicial killing. Because even when you have videos, right, showing what happened, right? We have videos again with two policemen had a guy in handcuff in St. Elizabeth, right, and gave him 4 shots, right? We have all of those and videos, and we have not seen the government comes out in disgust. We have not seen the Minister of National Security, the Commissioner of Police, right? And the Minister of National Security coming out speaking about the disgust of this situation, even with this particular incident, this current incident. We have not heard anything from the Prime Minister. I'm not saying that the Prime Minister didn't speak anything, but I did not hear anything coming from the Prime Minister. Let me say that, right? I did not hear anything coming from the Minister of National Security related to this sort of behavior, right? And I've not heard anything coming from the Prime Minister related to this particular sort of behavior. No, Brother Ratigan, no, based on the clip, you understand? Please lay your comment on the clip that you have just seen, sir.
Well, this is what happens when you have incompetence running the Ministry of National Security. When you have a medical doctor, as I've said many, many times, and people are going tired of hearing me saying it. When you have a medical doctor and you have an athlete, both of whom have no prior law enforcement experience, when you have the ministry being run by those folks, what do you expect? When you have the JCF being led by somebody who came in through the side door, who is an IT person, doesn't know how to fight crime, this is what happens. This is a crime plan. People have to understand this is they don't have a viable plan to address the crime situation in Jamaica. So them just say we could just kill them off, or make them kill off each other. So that's why sometimes it's a gang warfare. Police they interfere. Them go after it finish and the bodies are left in the streets. Then them show up because they have no clue. They're out of ideas. They don't know how to deal with the situation. So that is what happened, and that is what will continue to happen, because you have people who just they're in over their heads. They just don't know what they're doing. Now, what we witness cold-blooded murder. I don't care about what these guys did, because they have a constitutional right. And this Saturday, we're going to start talking about the Constitution. I'm reading a book now written by Justice Batts. Very interesting book about the Constitution.
Yes.
And no matter who you are, criminal or saint, you have a constitutional right to certain things. Right? And one of them, you have a constitutional right not to be shot in the back or not to be pulled aside and just shot for no reason. If a policeman shoots you because of self-defense or in defense of another, then that's acceptable. But to just bring somebody out, put them down, and then I can say they search them, found nothing, or even if you found something, right, and you've relieved the person of that instrument, whether it's a gun or a knife, you have no right to kill the person. No right. I mean, no matter how you, and I mean, people must think about this, because some people say, yeah, them kill people, so the civilians, them kill people, so them deserve a death too. Yes. Yeah, but if you start doing that, you end up with a lawless society, vigilantism. People just kill each other for no reason. Now, regarding this topic of body cameras, right? I went back and I checked. It's an old topic. It's an old topic. I went back just now and I saw we're in 2014. Minister Bunting received $400,000 for buy. That was the money or was the value of the cameras, but the purpose of it was for body cams. And he said they're going to be looking at this and they're going to be determining what brand and the model and all that. But this was a test run, 400,000. A whole heap of body cameras that, whole heap. And then we don't know what happened between 2014 and 2016. We don't know what if there was a
government. 2016 was a change of government.
Right, but we'll talk up to January 2016. We don't know if a contract was executed for more body cams, but we do know that body cams came to Jamaica in 2014, maybe even before that. But we know for a fact that $400,000 earmarked for body cameras 2014. Right. Then 2016, them come up with this Plan Secure Jamaica, and them start telling about all of the glorious things they're going to do. And again, it's just talk. Because here's what happened just last year. For the budget year 2013-2014, it ended, March 31st of this year, right? Minister Chang said at a presentation, and I have it right here, he said they were going to buy 1,000 additional, so them have already. He said going to buy 1,000 additional body worn cameras. And here is just a little excerpt from his speech. He said, we see, and just listen to what I'm saying and compare it to what he just said recently about body cameras. He said, we see the body cameras not as a challenge for the police force, but as a means of ensuring that the police officers will have the second eye that will relieve a lot of our police officers from false accusations. So what that means is if you go up on a radar or whatever, you're supposed to have it on so that you're not falsely accused. So yes. These are his words. These are his words. That's a quote. That's not a summary of what he said. That's an exact quote. We see the body cameras not as a challenge for the police force, but as a means of ensuring that the police officers will have the second eye that will relieve a lot of our police officers from false accusations. It's a protective mechanism.
But Ratty, he went 180 degrees according to that statement.
Exactly. This was 2023, and just what a week or so ago, or whatever, 2 weeks or whatever, he said something the complete opposite. Right? Him not see the virtues of it. Him not see the wisdom of it. Him not see how it make any sense. You know. And hear him saying, yeah, it makes sense because now, precisely the videos you just showed, he's saying this is for exactly those situations, so that people can come and say we kill people extrajudicially, right?
Yes.
Without justification, and we can show and say, see the camera, see that I was attacked by the person. But you see what happened? Them know where the camera. And when you don't, you see, the rule should have said, or should have stated that once you go on duty, you wear that camera and it cannot be turned off. You come back, and then what happens is that it's downloaded so that people can review it if a complaint is made later on. Something like that. But how can you have policemen out there I do them kind of dastardly deeds and them have no body cam on them? Where are the 400,000 body cams back in 2014? Where are they now? The 1,000 that he was supposed to purchase for last fiscal year, not this fiscal year, last fiscal year, where are they? We don't know. And so you have to be extremely suspicious when you have a government that says one thing, sounding logical, perfectly reasonable, and then we see videos like what you just showed. And the only way you can have, yes, every police organization, you'll find bad apples in there. But it look like Jamaica, you have to search to find a good apple. Especially in a situation like this when them go out on a raid. And I don't say that to demean or besmirch the reputation of the good, hardworking police officers. But this is what happens. This is what happens when this thing happens with much frequency, because people then start turn around and say, hey, the whole of them stay so. And by the way, extrajudicial killings have gone up.
Exactly.
Have gone up. Amnesty International came in a few years ago, and then they started to go, started to dwindle, and now they're up again. So I have no faith, I have no confidence in the management structure of the Ministry of National Security. I have no faith, no confidence in the JCF structure, the management structure. I have confidence in the men and women who put their lives out there on the line every day fighting to keep Jamaica safe. But then when you see incidents like these, you have to shake your head and say, what's going on here? Because obviously the message is not being sent that there's zero tolerance for something like this, because these incidents are happening far too frequently. And so somebody has to be blamed, right? And the buck stops where? The buck stops with the management.
Yeah.
The buck stops. The same video you're looking at, I'm sure they've seen it. But what are they doing to prevent these things from happening?
But Ratty, what I am seeing in terms of my observation, right? I will not hesitate to say that it seems like this administration, right, is quite tolerable to extrajudiciary killings, right? And the reason for me to say that is where you have a Minister of National Security, right, who at one point would have viewed that body cameras are important, right? And he stated why those body cameras are important. And at another interim, you have him going against the body camera. That doesn't make any sense.
Correct.
Right? That doesn't make any sense at all. Right? And we are the government, okay. Based on what the minister said, right, as it relates to where he spoke, in the first instance, giving the importance of body camera, and to say that, okay, the body camera is necessary because you want to establish the truth, you want to establish the fact.
Mm-hmm.
But establishing the facts is one thing also, but you also want to provide a safety net for the public while the police interacting with the police. and ensuring that in terms of the video that we have seen, where the police who didn't realize that they were in the view of a CCTV camera, right? Just decide to becomes judge, jury, and execution, right? And so then where the government doesn't force itself to take a stand, Ratty and Maria, where the government doesn't separate itself, right, in plain view of the public to say, look, the government is not in support of this. And so then the government should put it out in the public to publicly denounce that. I am not seeing any form of public denunciation coming from the government. And so then that being said, I am saying that I am seeing signs where the government, right, is tolerating extrajudiciary killing. Extrajudiciary killings. Because if that wasn't the case, right, the government should make sure, because number one, the Prime Minister is the Chief Minister of Defense, and his first responsibility, the Prime Minister's first responsibility is to ensure the safety of the citizens. Right?
Mystic.
Yes.
Mystic. As Minister of Defense,
yes,
it means Minister of the Fence. Make sure everybody on this side of the fence are okay. That's what it's about. The other side, we don't care what happened to them. If police kill them or them kill themselves, that's okay. But this side of the fence, everybody's supposed to be okay. And that's exactly how Jamaica is. You have a demarcation line, you know. And everybody on this side, okay. Them sleep well, them eat well, them live well. And on that side of the fence, God help you now.
You know, right, it's unbelievable to know that the Prime Minister is the Chief Defense Minister, right? He automatically get that portfolio because he's the Prime Minister. So then, I mean, how does the Prime Minister consider in terms of, you know, making sure or try at least with certain policies, right, to help provide protection for the citizen? I don't understand that. Because again, when you look into the police force and those police who are going out on operation, is there an SOP as it relates to body camera that, okay, the police has to be attired with body cameras before going out on these operations to ensure that what, you know, the public is getting is facts from these operations? So it doesn't seem like they have a standard operating procedures around body camera, any at all, based on what we are seeing there. You have these policemen, right, in different areas of the force going out on operations, and they are not wearing any body cameras. And as you mentioned, as it relates to the amount of money, remember, you know, the Minister of National Security came out and he bragged that millions spent.
Over a billion.
Over a billion spent on Minister and National Security, right, in terms of purchasing certain gadgets. So where are these body cameras? Right, but as the Minister said, the Minister have no focus in providing body cameras for police, the policemen and women. So then I have to say that it seems like, you know, this administration is in full support of extrajudiciary killing. What say you, Sister Maria?
Isn't it the same minister and ministry who presided over this Jamaica JCF conference of over about a year or so ago, when they had the man coming out of the roof for kidnapping, propelling himself out of the harness, let alone to save the kidnapped victim? This is the same minister. So what do we expect? What do we really expect? We just, you know, we look at it and we feel for the Jamaican people, and you have a government that has, you know, they have distanced themselves from the Jamaican people. You have two sets of Jamaicans. You have uptown Jamaicans and you have downtown Jamaicans. And downtown Jamaicans include all the people in the rural areas who do not have a say-so, or who are not as educated and as affluent as the in the words of Jeffrey, the Vumba and the Vumba Veen. You understand? So there's two sets of people that exist because these actions could never happen in Jacks Hill, in Beverly Hills, in Cherry Gardens. It couldn't happen up there. So why is it allowed to happen down there? Why is it acceptable? And like this is not the first time that this has happened. This is happening all the time. If they are not shooting them, they are beating them up. It's not a new thing. It just is happening too frequent, and nobody seems to care. The government doesn't seem to care to address the problem. And then they're going to come out and say, come and vote for me. Why? When you cannot protect the safety of your citizens? Why should anybody support you when you say meet your maker or meet your judge? That is not how a leader is supposed to speak. Yes, you have criminal element among you, but you should be the one to coach what you're saying in a way that is reinforcing on one hand the rule of law and on the other protecting the citizen. It cannot be. You have to look at the problem of poverty. Have you adequately addressed the problem of poverty, lack of proper education, all those infrastructural things that are needed to create a society where people do not gravitate towards criminal behavior and gang behavior? And here we have people who are, you know what it is? They have become immune to this kind of thing. It's like they expect that when they go out, this is what they're going to do. And if they don't do it, then maybe they will be looked at as being soft and not being hard on crime. This is not being hard on crime. These are criminals. These are criminals.
You know, Maria, I want to ask a question, and I'm going to think, you know, very careful on every letter and every word before I speak it. Here you have a government where all red flags is showing that you have a corrupted government, a corrupted administration. A government where you have dark clouds hanging over its head, right? Where the government, the helm of the government, the prime minister, right, has a situation where his statutory declaration for 3 years cannot be certified, where the prime minister mixed up in SSL, and where you have the act of nepotism, cronyism, and skullduggery. But don't you see it ironic for this particular government that is so corrupted, saying that they are fighting crime, when they themselves are committing crime? How can that be possible when you have the leader, right, of the country, when our parliamentarians, they themselves involved in crime, involved in criminality, and at the same time, the level of criminality that the government involved in, it affects multiple people. When the government makes bad decisions, it affects all of us. It affects people in the motherland, which is Jamaica, and it affects people in the diaspora. Now, we will have they are not facing any form of, you know, brutalization, because where particularly SSL losing over $4 billion, and that affect, right, as it relates to push a small percentage of our GDP, right, based on, you know, investors having their money and putting their money into SSL, and they are not facing any consequence. But yet you have the police officer who come from the ghetto, because most of the police officers, 98%, if not all, of the police officers, right, are from ghetto areas, poor, underdeveloped areas, right? And they are carrying the level of, atrocity against them own. And the funny thing is that the government, this current government, is seeking to get their votes.
Exactly, Mystic. And here's a question we have to ask the parliamentarians. How many parliamentarians right now, ministers of government, have children in the JCF or the JDF? How many of the people uptown have children in the JCF and the JDF? And the thing is, given the systemic corruption that exists in Jamaica, this is why if any other group should wear police cameras, the Jamaica Constabulary Force members, every single, the minute they sign in that book and put the uniform on, they should put their cameras on and turn that shit on before they leave. Because the corruption is too much. And like you said, the majority of them come from poor circumstances, poor communities. So they're harming their neighbors. And a lot of them are out there and retaliating against people. So they're given the badge and the uniform and the gun to go retaliate against them enemy. So how can the system change? How can they really manage crime if they're not managing the criminals within their ranks? Why is this acceptable behavior? Why? It has happened it has been going on for too long, and it has happened too many times. And we have yet to see any level of serious accountability on the part of these JCF members and JDF too, who have been so violent towards the Jamaican people. They beat them up, the gun butt them, they kick them down, all of that. Last time the PM came from the ghetto. Cumberland is not the ghetto because it can come from the ghetto and behave the way he does. And the thing is, ghetto is not a place, ghetto is a mentality. Because the PM is just a glorified ghetto man in a parliament. Look how he behaves. He has carried that mentality with him. Where if you say anything, he gets upset. You can see all the veins stand up in his face and in his neck, the way he carries on like a hooligan. Look at some of his actions in the parliament. Look at some of his actions, some of the things that he has said outside of the parliament. He behaves with, I would say he has an anger management problem. All this anger come out of him. So it's from the ghetto, but he has the mentality. He still has that mentality, though he's prime minister. So he doesn't seem to care enough for the people to say to the JCF, this is unacceptable behavior. The Constitution allows for due process for every citizen in Jamaica, no matter what they did or they do. It allows for that. But he's always violating the Constitution and getting away with it. So if they're not holding the Prime Minister accountable, the Minister of National Security is not being held accountable, who can hold the JCF accountable? And then, like Vatican said earlier, you have all these people getting into these jobs who are not even qualified for the positions. And when you have a person like Chairman James, who knows the job, who has come up through the ranks, and he's put out an interdiction, what does that tell you about the system that is at work? They do not care. Because if this happened uptown one time, the JCF would have been held accountable. Members of the JCF would have been held accountable, and they'll be towing the line. But it doesn't happen uptown. It's those people over there, those animals over there, those ghetto people, those poor people. But you know who vote for them? The same people and the same poor people who are running behind them. Show a labor right, power. Seriously think about who you're voting for and why it is that you're voting, because this is unacceptable. And you have to talk to the Prime Minister about his own rhetoric. The same thing goes to the Minister of National Security. How can you say to meet your maker or meet your judge? No, as a leader, that should not be coming to you. And you little boys, he has 2 sons. You think his sons are paragons of virtue? How should his sons be treated? And I'm sure they all have children. How should their children be treated? That is how we have to look at it, individually and collectively. But this behavior cannot continue, because if they continue like this, you're going to lose a generation.
You know what? For that input, but let me just say something before I bring Ratigan in this space. Now, I want Jamaica to just look on the Jamaica Labour Party administration. The Prime Minister is in a conundrum, right, as it relates to issues that we have with the Integrity Commission. But let us take a look on the Deputy Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister in a bind, the Prime Minister in a conundrum. The Deputy Prime Minister came out into a WikiLeaks cable. You understand, as it relates to gun shipment and drugs, right? Now, these are the leaders of our government. These are the persons at the helm of our government. The Prime Minister's wife, who is the Speaker of the House, right, is now building mansion upon mansion, right, that value over $800 million, right, in tussling court, and while representing people as the Speaker of the House. Now, it just can't get any worse than this. And so then, how are they expecting to have a better Jamaica? Right? What examples that they are setting? I'm talking to this particular administration. They are the incumbent government. What is the example that they are setting for Jamaican people, particularly the youths of tomorrow? That you can follow the Prime Minister's footsteps. You can follow the Deputy Prime Minister's footsteps. Because the Prime Minister have situation hanging over his head, right, as it relates to corruption, $470 million, right, running through various accounts, 2-3 institutions. What sort of examples are these? I mean, come on. And then the Prime Minister is saying that the Integrity Commission, you understand, have no right to dig into his business. This is madness. Because basically, this is what the Prime Minister is saying. The Prime Minister is seeking judicial review to, as a matter of fact, to kick out the Corruption Act. So then what sort of country that Andrew Holness, right, is shaping out for the society? What sort of country? A country should run without, there's no Corruption Act, there's no guardrails, right? To avoid politicians from corrupt themselves, and then Andrew Holness feel comfortable to run his administration like that without any Corruption Act. Now, let me just see if I can bring Brother Rattigan in this space. Go ahead, Brother Ratti.
Yeah, you know, let me start with the last thing you said when you talk about the Illicit Enrichment Act, right, which is the Corruption Prevention Act 2001. And I'll show it this Saturday, but I'll let the audience know about this.
Yes.
I went back and there's something called a Hansford, or I can't remember the exact term, Hansford and whatever. What it is, it's whenever there's a bill in Parliament, the houses, upper, lower, they get to discuss it and they get to vote on it. And so what I did, I went back and I asked for the records of the discussion in Parliament regarding the Corruption Prevention Act, and it specifically they specifically discussed section 14 subsection 5, illicit enrichment. Guess who was in Parliament at the time? Oh, I lost just Prime Minister. Guess who never said nothing at the time? We lost just Prime Minister. The bill passed. The bill passed. There's no problem. There had 2 amendments to it, and the 2 amendments had nothing to do with 14.5. In fact, you know who ushered the bill in? It was KD Knight who ushered it in. And the bill passed. No problems. I'm going to show the documents him this Saturday. So for him come now and say, well, it shouldn't apply to me. Another thing I'm going to be doing between now and Saturday is look to see how many people the Integrity Commission brought that particular charge against, illicit enrichment. Because him no say nothing. I'm sure him is not the first person. I'm sure he's not the first person to bring it against. But whenever I hear nothing, whenever I hear an outcry, whenever I hear an outcry when the bill are passed, whenever I hear an outcry when it applied to other people, we are outcry now when it applies to him. People, is this what we want in our leader?
Exactly.
Is this what we want in our leader? The flip-flopping business. Here's something else him said recently, right? Him said, oh, and by the way, the Prime Minister, with all due respect, Mr. Prime Minister, yeah, tough, you know. Yeah, tough, bad. In 2018, I sat down with him, you know, at Vale Royal. I'm explaining to him that you need a fusion center, you need an intelligence center. Him just come out this week, and hear what him say. 1 second, let me find it right. So him just come out and say that them are build essentially a fusion center, so that everything can pipe into it, and then you can deal with the security part of it right here. Him say, all right, here it is. Furthermore, the Prime Minister highlighted plans to enhance public safety and security. I think give me that from 2016, which include the expansion of the Jamaica eye surveillance system and the development of a state-of-the-art C5 center. Him just said this, no. Me give him the blueprint 2018. Me give him the blueprint. Me sit down with the man and explain it to him. Him never understand it, you know. I'm explaining it to him. Me explain to him the difference between an intelligence center and a fusion center, the similarities, and why Jamaica need one or the other, right? And I just know him say, them have plans to build one. Them in no build yet. Well, here is something else him said, which is quite interesting. Him said, and I think he would try cover for him brethren. He might try cover for him brethren, the Minister of National Security, who come out and say that, you know, body cameras, they're essentially useless. Him say, hold on a second here. Hold on a second. Okay, here it is. Him said, for us to deploy cameras, it is not about the deployment of the camera. Listen carefully, folks. For us to deploy cameras, it is not about the deployment of the camera. The camera is the least of the systems of being able to capture real-time footage of police doing their work. No, that make any sense? That make any sense? That makes absolutely no sense. In fact, that's nonsense.
Nonsense.
When you go talk about the camera is the least of the systems of being able to capture real time. What's more real time than the man have the camera right? So everywhere you turn, you can see what go on. What's more real time than that? As a geo locator to say he's right here, but you can't see him. You know, you just say, okay, him there in the square, and him a move, but you can't see where he must see. The camera see where he must see. And him said the camera is the least of them. It's the least. So him actually defend this the Minister of National Security will say it's of no use. He must say it's the least, we'll give them cameras, but it's the least. I mean, people who don't understand who never run the country. That's a rhetorical question because we know who are run the country. We know who are run the country. The country is not in good hands. We don't know that. We don't know that. And what I would like to see, the people get up and stand up like what the people are doing in the tourism sector. And what I would love the tourism sector to do, I would love them to pick 1 week in December and just take off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Because guess what happened? People check in Thursday, Friday because of the rates. and them check out Monday. So there'll be nobody to check them in. There'll be nobody to check them out. No food. Nobody will make up the bed. Nobody will cater like indentured servants to tourists. And you know what happened? They will come to the table. They will come. We need to do this island-wide because you know the days of setting up smoke signals, them days are over. With the smartphone, everybody has smartphone. You can arrange it. But be careful. When I have Judases in our midst, and we have to make preparations for them people there, right? I want to say preparations for them. You have to make preparations to go around them because that's going to happen. You're going to have sellouts. But by and large, if all of you get together and said, listen, you know what? We are get notice to the government that December, from this time to that time, nobody will work in none of the hotels, and whether it's a business hotel, a boutique hotel, a tourist hotel, whatever the hotel is. Nobody will work. And when you see how quick them come to the table. Because guess what? Them realize now, say remittances are fall off, you know.
Exactly.
Remittances are fall off. And so they have to look for something for buttress that for balance that out. It's tourism. Right? And so you see now the ambassador come out and talk about say that she hope State Department will give a favorable rating, and them are probably going to lift the travel advisory. Them are going to move it from a 3 to almost say a 2 or whatever. All what? You know why all of that movement there? Because them see the writing upon the wall that there's a steady drumbeat of discontent in Jamaica. Now people just on their own, organically, people just come out. What they need to do now is just say, all right, you know what, we're going to do it together. And we're just going to just mash up this thing up because you know what happened? If you want to go, your nose have to run. Make it run. Make your nose run. Get rid of the virus. Make your nose run. Get sick so you can get well. Go through it. Because I tell you, say, once you sit down at the table and you start saying to them, listen, we need better working conditions. We need better wages. We need a retirement plan. We need this, we need that. They will capitulate. Them not have no choice. Who them are going to bring in other people? Who are going to come work for $2 an hour?
That is it.
Exactly.
So they
Who?
have plan, they must
Who them are come work for $2 an hour? People from the Philippines, people from Dominican, people from here, people from Haiti, people. No. So I'm glad for see my people might take a stand, want them to take a bigger and a more united stand and deal with it. And again, going back to the Prime Minister, he have a bigger problem, you know. And tell you what, it amount. It just get worse and worse and worse and worse. And I wouldn't be surprised if him take sick, and you know, because of the stress. I really wouldn't be surprised. You know, somebody would have said because of the sins we him commit, but because of the stress, you know, because of the stress, you ever say stress, because of the stress we're under right now. It'll be bad. And this crime thing that we are discussing right now, it's far worse than they're portraying. It's far worse. I still ask them, you know, and them still don't answer me. I still ask them, tell me, why is it that you have somebody in the death investigations pool from 2016 till now? You can't determine how that person died from 2016. I hide the bodies them right there, so
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
and them don't come out and tell people about them things, you know. So we have pools of people, we have pools of put people, you know, and we don't count them bodies here. We don't count them at all towards the murder statistics. We don't count them. Them don't tell people this. Only around here, so people can come and hear them thing, yeah. Yeah, well, she is, you know, she needs to go home. This lady, she need to go home. In fact, I don't know what happened because she was supposed to be replaced in September with Anthony Anderson. Plans were made, and he was supposed to come and take over when UNGA, the United General Assembly, for September. And for some reason, everything, them put the kibosh on everything. I'm just hoping that she goes home pretty soon. And it is my fervent hope and prayer that them send her home by the end of December. I think something is going to happen in December. Wink, wink. I just think something is gonna happen in December, right? But she needs to go home. She's not a good representative. You know, she's here because her daughter in a school and she wants to see her through school and blah blah blah. But and she use the government for that purposes. And taxpayers, remember this, you know, uno pay feet. Uno pay feet. All of them mismanagement and waste, uno pay feet. And so why mistake?
Yes.
We have to just laugh, because when we look on the foolishness we're going on, and we're saying to our people, wake up, man, wake up, be brave, wake up, do something. As my father says, do something before something do you. Well, something I do them, so now them I wake up.
Definitely.
So that's my speech.
All right. So I am not
one second, brother. Mystic. Ratigan just talked about, and you touch on very important issue too. The Judases among the people. That is more damaging than you would like to believe. It's very damaging, because you will stand up for something, but you still have people coming and saying, okay, so I have 28 bank accounts, who cares? You don't even have one.
Yeah.
You have people who say, okay, we're going to protest. No way I protest against the government. But guess what? They will collect 10 cents an hour and get $5,000. When you break it down, as Damon Crawford did brilliantly, it's 10 cents an hour that they'll sell their votes for. And these politicians realize that the people who were willing to give them their votes for 10 cents an hour, they have no value, they don't value themselves. So why should they value them? So how then can you ask these same people, these same members of parliament who become ministers of government, how then can you say to MP, school needs fixing, hospitals, roads? Or you cannot say that to them, because you already give away, you're worth 10 cents an hour. So the Judases who are willing to do that, J.C. Hutchinson himself said it now, you give them $5,000 and a box of food. That's what they're used to. And another platform, we didn't cover it, but on another platform, one said, yeah, go to school, but dig out your hand middle. That's how they see them. Dealers, fully done, back of the class, no subject. That's how they see them. How then can you now say to those same people, when you have in your midst people who are condoning and justifying their disrespect of the masses? So the Judases have to get their act together and understand that what affects one affects all. Having a vote for 10 cents an hour, that's what you're worth to them. 10 cents, not 10 US cents, 10 cents, 10 Jamaican cents an hour. That's what your value is. Make that make some sense. And when we saw these just get it through them head that you only worth 10 cents an hour, I hope they change their behavior. I do hope they do.
Mario, you touch on the hotel industry, based on what we see now in terms of hotel worker claiming that they are getting $2 US per hour. Now let us drag on that for a bit, Sister Maria. $2 US per hour. Now here in Canada, the minimum wage in Canada is 16 Canadian dollars per hour. When I look at that, that is the ratio of 8-to-1. An 8-to-1 ratio. Right now tell me something. Now, the Canadian minimum wage, $16 per hour, right? And well, that's in the province of Alberta. That could be bigger in some other provinces, right? And Jamaica is getting, Jamaica hotel workers, $2 US per hour. That is a modern, that is modern day slavery. That's colonization into you know, a real modern farm as it relates to towards hotel, the hotel industry.
But Byron, before you move on, Byron, $2 an hour. How much profit are these hoteliers making? How much profit did they make last year, the year before, over the past 5 years? How much profit did they make? And everything in there is sold in US dollars. It's quoted in US dollars. So how much profit did they make? But you know, for a light moment, somebody in the chat said that who is this? JMRB Media. JMRB Media said, "No, that you let them know they're gonna ask for 2 cents an hour." I mean, so funny. But you think and Judas will go? There's no bottom for a person who is willing to sell their soul. There's no bottom. So JMRB, you're right. They might ask for 2 cents or just say no. It's all right. $0 and 0 cents, and I'm good to go. Give me a box food, and we're good. You know. But I don't know what the profits are. Yeah.
And when you look at the rate of inflation, Sister Maria, right? That they have to challenge partially every week, right? And they are getting $2 per hour, right? I mean, years upon years, and I mean, it's just crazy. What the Jamaican government, you understand, is really allowing, right? I mean, the managers to manipulate the people of Jamaica, the hoteliers to manipulate the people of Jamaica, right? And I'm saying it, I wish that, you know, everyone should just sensitize themselves, and if all the hotels can group up, all the hotel workers, right, can group up and take a stand. You deserve better, Jamaican people, you deserve better, right? The government is going to say we are going against the government. But rightly so, because if the government, you understand, is accepting that hoteliers need to pay the Jamaican $2 an hour, then away with this government.
Mystic.
Yes.
Mystic. When them say, if them say we are going against the government, they must remember, say, the government is going against the government. The Prime Minister sued the government. They must remember that.
Exactly.
They must remember that.
Right?
Must remember that.
Yes. I mean,
and Wemado, you see Wemado, if the court should allow it, then what that means is that you can't talk to no politicians about illicit enrichment. And guess what? The discussion that they had, they specifically said, I read it, they said that you can't have somebody that make millions and millions and millions and them salary don't match what them have, and you don't question it and say, where is this money coming from? Them say that. And him come now and say, me no want to no use that against me. So, but they must sue the government. They must say, we are going against the government. Well, him gone against the government already.
You know why he was so quick to sign off on it? It's for those people over there. The opposition. So in his mind, it was only going to be used again. How dare them use this against Prince Andrew? You don't do that. Like he's not a part of the political class in Jamaica. And so what applies to one quite naturally applies to all. So it's like, how dare you do this to the great Prince Andrew? And it is shameful.
You know what? Freedom just made an outstanding point. Something that I was thinking about. Freedom, thanks for bringing it up. What them should have done when them start negotiate is say, okay, these chains, how much you pay a Rio worker in Spain?
Exactly.
How much they make? A Rio, wherever else, please, a Holiday Inn. How much you pay a Holiday Inn worker in America? How much them pay? So, well, we want a similar salary then. We want a similar salary. We know always a show off, say, we have good hotel chain and we take care of workers and the people happy and all of that. Well, make we happy too.
Happy. Pay them in US dollars. Yeah. Everything in the hotel is quoted in US dollars. Pay them in US dollars. So you're giving them $2 an hour.
But look here, this administration is enough, right? the hotel workers' plight as it relates to wanting, raise a pay, right? I mean, they are getting $2. And the Prime Minister is coming out, right? Trying to convince the people that everything is okay, and try to make up cock and bull story. Want to say, it is the opposition, you understand, is driving the influence, This is the thing with Andrew Owners, right? Now, but this goes to show you where he stands, right? In both protecting the PSOJ, both protecting hoteliers, not the people of Jamaica, and not the masses who vote for him. Because really and truly, the PSOJ of Jamaica is in minute numbers that cannot determine the future of a government. It is the very same poor people that he's going against that can determine the fate of the government. And yet, right, he's using these poor people, you understand, to definitely make his friends, his companions, his elite, you understand, PSAJ and others, you understand, benefited maximum and without no benefit going to the masses of the electorate. Right, the masses of the electorate, like the working class people, the people who live in the ghetto, and so forth, right? Who have the power in terms of voting a government into power, right? The government, as you see, as it relates to what is currently happening now with the hotel workers, is not taking the plight of the hotel workers. They're they are defending the hoteliers. They want to drive a narrative that go back to work. Don't listen. It is the People's National Party influencing this and the People's National Party influencing that. You understand? Can you imagine that the Prime Minister, as we speak, right, don't understand what the people are facing? The inflation. Look at the inflation. The inflation is higher than 7,402 feet, right? Higher than Blue Mountain over the people head. The people can't manage the inflation. And I am shocked to know that the hotel workers are getting $2. And the Prime Minister not jump out to defend the hotel worker. He's defending the hoteliers.
Him say are the PNP are influence and like they have no party affiliation. I make that clear. But him say the PNP are influence them, are the People's National Party are influence them. No, are the people in the house, the wife, the baby mother, the people, are them are influence them for take them action. Yeah, because them say we're hungry, right? No, here's what the Prime Minister did to show you how people. I mean, I hope we have lift off the skills off, we have peel off the skills off of the Jamaican people eyes, Here's what they don't need to look at. Look at the Prime Minister's priorities, right? Who he meet with? He met with the hoteliers. He no meet with the people them.
Just look at that.
He no meet with the people them who suffer. He meet with the hoteliers and here's why. Because the hoteliers are them supporting campaign.
Exactly.
So him know when bread buttered. So the Jamaican people supposed to look and say, okay, feed bread butter on that side, well, we are going to butter the bread on the other side. We're not going to butter it on Fim side.
Ratty, I'm mistake. He says it's the PNP. Then since it's the PNP and $2 an hour is such a wonderful amount of money to earn, great. Why doesn't the Prime Minister take $2 an hour as a payment? But Ratty, it better be take the raise because he has 28 bank accounts.
He has 28 bank accounts.
So listen, you understand? So him not taking the increase and saying, me the same salary and opposition I make more money than me. The truth of the matter is he's making more money than the opposition leader. Because he's playing chess with his 28 bank accounts. He's busy running his business, and moonlighting as a prime minister. Okay, but since $2 an hour is such a great salary to make per hour, such good amount of money to make. He should, by example, take that $2 an hour and live off of it. Remember now, Ratty, it was the Minister Tufton who said he couldn't survive off $3,000 a month. Correct? $3 a month. You know how much hundreds of thousands of dollars that is? And he couldn't survive off it. Yet the hotel workers are expected to satisfy with and thrive and take care of the family, send them to school, pay light, pay water, pay mortgage, pay rent, pay car note, do all of those things on $2 an hour. But the Minister of Health says he cannot survive on $3,000 a month. Make some sense. And then you may vote for that person.
Let me make it make sense. Him can't live off of $3,000 a month, right? So them say, well, get a big raise. Him get the big raise. And when him do, him still can't live off it. He must sell book now. He must sell book now. People are dead, People are dead. He must sell book.
You know what I'd like to know? What is the makeup of the hierarchy, the HR department, the vice presidents, the supervisors? What is the makeup of that, of those departments, in the sense of what percentage of those persons are in fact Jamaicans or expatriates?
You mean in the hotel industry?
In the hotels, yes, in the hotel industry. Because then you get a sense, right? And if they don't understand the culture, and they don't understand that $2 an hour cannot do anything, why should they care? And if you have a government in place that cares more about giving them tax breaks and making sure they have the beaches and they have the best and them have the hotels and the people, their own people going there and work for little and nothing. You can't even drink a bottle of water. And that is what they're supporting. When are they going to really stand up and say, enough is enough? $20 an hour, US. Pay them in US dollars. At minimum $20 an hour, because you have to look at their profits and do an increase because they're making profit.
Yes.
Who operates business without a profit?
Well, Sister Maria, I am not going to hesitate in saying that the tourism industry in Jamaica is the modern day slavery plantation. No joke about it. Right? And as a matter of fact, let me touch Sandals Chain, the Sandals Chain Hotel. Right? Because that hotel chain is a monster to the people's life. Right? Because they have their workers having pin on their chest. Right? No tip. Please don't tip me.
Do not feed the monkeys.
Now, when you have a situation like that, and the government allowed it for years, that you have a hotel chain executing that in Jamaica, where you have to wear that on your chest, right? Please don't tip me. So then if someone do a good service to a customer, and the customer feel appreciated, right? And said, okay, I'm going to tip you because I'm satisfied with the service that you deliver. That person can be fired of receiving that tip. And the Jamaican government allowed this. Right? These are some of the things that we have to look out on. You understand? And these are some of the things that show the Jamaican people that you are on a new plantation. The hotel industry is the modern plantation. And no apology about that. The hotel industry of Jamaica is the modern slavery plantation in Jamaica. Now, I don't want to take up struggle Maria anymore now. So we are going to be in the closing. So let us pass around the button in terms of the final word, Sister Maria, and then we just close out the program. Go ahead, Sister Maria.
Yeah, it is my hope that Jamaican people in this election cycle vote on policies and not feelings and liking and who no, it's about what have you done for me lately. That's what it's supposed to be about. And you have to look around and do a serious assessment of your current leaders. How do they treat the Constitution? Because how they treat the Constitution is how they're treating you. When you look at a leader who has 28 bank accounts and he's still there, and he's still in power, and you don't see the outcry, because if this was Mark Golding, you'd have to peel and throw his ass off of the ceiling the way he would be behaving. Okay? And that would be right. They should be demanding of him that he step aside. But nobody's demanding of Andrew that he steps aside and let this thing play out. Let somebody go, act in the position, let this thing play out. Further than that, you have a candidate who says to the young people, I am you. I see myself in you. You see yourself in me. And what you have are people saying, remember when he was 17? Not paying attention to who he is now. So what he did in the past is more important than the person he is now. They're not saying, oh yeah, this person's an attorney. He went as far as to the Privy Council and won. That is what we should all be embracing. But you know what we're embracing? Yes, go to school, and when you come home, you dig out your hand, Miguel. And if this was said by the person who went to the Privy Council, as in ISAT, they would be raking him over the coals, because everybody is raking him over the coals for the past. What does that say about how they see young people right now? Because however they treat ISAT is exactly how they treat young people. It's exactly how they see the young people. So they have to use that to measure and to gauge the kind of government that they have right now. Okay? And they have to look at how organizations, departments like police department treats the people, treats the residents, and understand that they do so based on the leadership that they have. And so they have to vote for better leaders so they can weed out the bad apples, get rid of the bad apples, and put in place, let the people who have some integrity and some love and some compassion and some caring, put those people in place, put the people with the know-how in place, like a Chairman James and others like himself, who know what they're doing. Put those people in place. Clean up the system, but the only way for it to be cleaned up is the voters. They have to make that conscious effort to stop selling their votes for 10 cents an hour, and don't bring it down to 2 cents an hour either, and a box food. Think about your children's future. Think about your future. Is this what you want for yourself, where you have a prime minister with 28 bank accounts and you can't even open one? Where you have a prime minister who opens, not my words, I didn't say it, who opens an account with no money?
No money.
No money. Can you tomorrow morning get up and go to the bank and open an account with $0.00? No, you can't. So ask of your prime minister, why is that acceptable? Why is it acceptable for you to take your own government to court because they are doing their best to hold you accountable and set an example and help to rid the country of corruption? Why is that acceptable for you? Why is it acceptable for 2 DPPs to be paid by taxpayers? Why is it acceptable for over $1.7 trillion to be unaccounted for and no investigation? Why are these things acceptable that you're paying for unoccupied tax buildings? And then you're going to pay to retrofit these buildings rather than build a building to specifications. So all of these things the Jamaican people have to be serious about. Listen to how they talk about young people. And then you will know how they really feel about you. And don't let them talk about you like a dog on one hand and then come back and say, yes, I am your humble servant. Can and be, they need to be edified, educated voters. Please stop selling your votes for 10 cents an hour. When you collect $5,000 on a box food, J.C. Hutchinson said that. I'm not making up any story on them. And Andrew Onis cannot come and say it's a lie. J.C. Hutchinson said on a political platform, he give one farm work ticket and come back and say, they work hard. He give one another and give, but the others got $5,000 on a box food. He said that, which works out to, when you break it down, it's 10 cents. And I'm going to that for them to understand how they don't value them. They only see them as a vote, give me the vote, and I'm going to go into office and I'm going to get a council making what, $5 million a month? Something like that? How much MPs? Some MPs are making 9 million, 12 million, those kinds of monies, ministers of government. All right. So you have to look at it that way. And they say it is okay for a hotel worker to get $2 an hour, but the prime minister can get 300%. And you have to vote for the persons who have your best interest at heart, because that is the reason you don't have hospitals, you don't have proper roads, you don't have proper schools, because they do not value you. They take your vote for 10 cents. 10 cents. It is high time you put some value on yourself, because they don't. Otherwise, we have nothing to talk about.
So true, Sister Maria. So true. Brother Ratty.
Well,
right?
you know, there's not much I can add after that tremendous closing by our sister there. But let me just say that recently, the MP for was it Western Portland, Eastern Portland, whatever, the husband, he came out and said that Western Portland, he came out and said that the government is going to free up beaches, 8 beaches. Yeah, he came out and said they're going to free them up, and one of them is, I think, Boston Beach, him said. And him said the rest of they will come in, to paraphrase him, they'll come in on time. He didn't give any specific date. He just said that in the coming months they're going to have it. And they said, but wait a minute, hold on. The beaches, then when we want to hear him talk about, you know, like San, and when you talk about the beaches and where sandals them have and things like that, because people want to realize that this is the season of giving. Them going to give everything, but the giving is in the promising. Giving is not really in the giving.
Yes,
it's to tell you that we are going to give you, and then them stretch it out, because remember now there's an election that must take place within the year. Within 12 months, within I think it's like within 10 months from now. So they're going to promise you this and then stretch it out. So watch for that, because right now, Dr. Devon Taylor, he has a protest at Blue Lagoon this Sunday. And if you're in Jamaica and you can't hear me talking to you now, you need to go and support that. Because what happens is that the 200 and some odd acres of land surrounding Blue Lagoon, completely owned by private interests. They won't have a parochial road going there. The government sell off everything. And then block the parochial road. You couldn't even go in there and use a parochial road, you know, people's road. You can't go inside. So, and he has 4 lawsuits in court against the government to free up the beaches. And the prime minister, with the stroke of a pen, can change all of this. All of this.
Yeah.
But Willie, the prime minister tomorrow can say to Adam Stewart, listen, you have to grant an easement next to your premises so that people can actually use the beach. The beach belongs to everyone. He can do that under the law. And under the law, if Adam Stewart says, I'm not going to let it happen, then under the law, the police commissioner is named by position. The police commissioner can then get a force and go there and enforce that, make sure that people have it, and them won't do it. So again, people, in addition to what, you know, Sister Maria said, this is something that we need to pay attention to. Beach access, because this thing here it no matter if you're PNP, JLP, UIC, NDM, no matter who you are or nobody. This is an issue that can resonate with everybody.
True.
Right? Everybody. True. And just let me just walk it back a bit and say, you know, the people who are indentured servants at these resorts and hotels where they have beaches, you know, them can't take off them because after a hard day's work and go use the beach.
No. No.
Because they're not a guest. They're not a guest. Them can't do it. This is how horrible the conditions are, people. And so we need to make the change. We need to do something before something do it. And things are happening to we already, and we need to do something. So big up all of the people in the hotel sector. All right. Continue with an industrial action. Make it something that is planned and take 5 days off. Take Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So nobody can check in, nobody can check out. And whoever's did it before Thursday, them not get no service.
Exactly.
And that will cause a change.
Trust me. Let them know, Ratty, that what cause effective changes is when we make their pockets burn them.
Yes,
so
sir.
When we come together, you understand, and withdraw our service, their pocket burn them. And that is what we need to do. And my final say tonight in closing is that remember, right? Because I mean, everybody know, you know, that Mystic Sensation supporting the People's National Party. You know, grown up in a hide. You understand? We tell them as it is. We are telling people to make sure that you're ready, right? Go out, right? And put your X beside the head, right? Because we are talking about, of course, solid policy and solid history of the People's National Party performance, right, from the history of the politics. So we are not going to divert from that, right? So we are saying, make sure you prepare to go out and put the X beside the N. And that is my closing. All right. I want to say thanks again, Ratty, for passing through. And of course, Sister Maria, big up yourself. You know?
Much respect to Ratty, Sister Anne Marie, and Brother Byron.
Yes, sis. Bless up everybody. Right. Talk soon. All right.
Blessings. Blessings. Okay. All right. Well, it's a wonderful passing through. Really appreciate that. I want to say big thanks to all the listeners, persons who tune into Mystic Sensation and following us. Right? Remember, as I'm appealing to you, right, making sure that you are preparing to put the X beside the head. And we're not water down that. Right? That's what we stand for. All right. Amen. And I'm out.